Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, Barbados, good evening, the Caribbean, good evening, the world. We are live, live, live. This is the Marcia Week show, and we're coming to you live from Barbados. Yes, and I can see that quite a number of you are already logged on. And you know what you have to do? You have to like, you have to share, and those of you who have not yet subscribed, you got to hit that subscription, that little bell right there. You got to hit the bell so that it's going to notify you anytime I come on. You'll be able to know that I'm on. So everybody go ahead, and we're going to like, and we're going to share, and we're going to just send this all about. Okay, everybody that's on now, start liking and sharing, everybody. Good evening. Good evening, one and all. I am seeing here Junie Rock. Junie Rock, have you? Good evening, Junie Rock. How are you? Have you liked yet? Have you shared? Let's get the shares. Let's get the shares up to what? 800 tonight. Can we go to 800 shares tonight? Come on, man. We can do it. How are you doing, Queen Bee? Queen Bee, how are you doing? Opposition, fall in line. Please like and share. She said 600. I say 800 likes tonight. Everybody, I went on and I liked already. I did my liking already. So you've got to do yours because we have a lot to discuss, and we want to make sure that everybody knows that we're on, and you're going to help us, right? That's what we do. We work together. That's what we do on the Marcia Week show. So you are watching the Marcia Week show. We're live from Barbados, and Cecilia Miller is on. Hey, Cecilia, I remember seeing you Saturday at the Mart, Cecilia. And guess what? Guess what is going to happen, Cecilia? We're going to march again on Saturday. This time around, Cecilia, we're not going to do the Independence Square. Independence Square alone is it's an added 1,000 and something, okay, on our expenses. So we're going to cut out the Independence Square and try to do everything on the truck to cut down on the expenses so that we don't have to keep coming to you. Things are tough, things are hard, and we have to take care of our families. And we don't take any money from any corporate entity. You know how it goes. No political parties give us any money, and we are not going to be taking money from any political parties. We're not going to be bought by any corporate entity. We are, our funding comes from the people. Okay, it comes from the ground up. That's what the people give us. And so we have to be good stewards of that because it's your money that we're spending. All right. So, Cecilia, I am trusting to see you out there again, Cecilia. Cecilia says, good evening. The truth has broken more than 4 shootings. Those are the ones mentioned. People lost in 24 hours. We had two murders, 2 shootings in 24 hours today. In 7 days, we had over 4 young men who have died by the gun in Barbados. Something is wrong with that picture. You hear what I tell you? Something is wrong with that picture because something is wrong with this country. Something is drastically off, okay? We're going to go into that a little bit more. Vernon is on. Hi, Vernon. Bajan boy, good evening. How are you? Yeah? Sylvia Rock, good evening. How are you? Erwin Nurse, good evening. Sandra Brewster, good evening. Owen Hines, how are you? Good evening. Romeo Hinkson, yes, man. How you doing? Mystic Angel, how are you doing? Okay. I'm glad you watched it, Mystic Angel. I was on a podcast. She's telling everybody with Andre Stevens. So if you go online and you look for Partner Draw TV or look for Andre Stevens, or on the clip of the show is actually on the Marcia Week show. We've taken it and put it on so that you can see it. I see that over 3,000 people have viewed it already since it went up. So you can go on and view it as well. Sandra Watkins, Born again. Good evening, Marcia, my namesake. I met you. Are you the same Marcia I met? Yes, I met you at Roadside Parliament. Useless government. Whose name is useless government? Is that the BLP's name? Sir Alfred Benjamin. Good evening, Sir Alfred Benjamin. Brooklyn, NYC. And you know, there are people saying to me, Alfred Benjamin, they want me to come to New York. They want a roadside parliament or the Marcia Week show in New York, in Brooklyn, New York. What do you say about that, Sir Alfred? You message me 236-7000, 236-7000, and let me know what you think of it. CG, how are you doing, CG? Listen, there's a crazy idea that is going about. And as soon as I see CG's name, I remember. Now, CG, don't forget that we have the march coming up this Saturday. And this Saturday, we are going to add to what we're doing. Yes, we're continuing to bring awareness and march about the cybercrime bill. And you say, how many times we're going to march? We're going to march till they pull it back. We're going to march till we want to stop marching. What I'm saying, we cannot march because they have stopped talking about it. Because we know how they work, right? We know how they work. But because they have stopped talking about it, doesn't mean that we're going to stop marching. We have to keep marching, keep the noise going, keep the energy going. Yes? Remember I told you what happened with those bus riots and so on in the US. I have to look again to see how many days they were marching and how many days they had those protests going. Those, it takes time. It takes time, people. Don't give up. But somebody has an idea about us doing a march during Kadooment. Can you imagine Kadooment, CG, with some pretty placards with nice feathers and everything on it? Very cultural. Everybody have on a little headpiece. But we got our placards. Listen, is that a crazy idea? CG, let me know if it is crazy. Peter King, good afternoon, Peter King. Cali B, are you back in the UK yet? Oh my Lord, Patrick Green, it was so good to see you. Cali B was in Barbados, and Cali B was at the march. He made 2 marches and a roadside parliament. Yes. You could go back and tell the Bajans in UK that you saw what's happening here on the ground in Barbados. Oh my Lord, Cali B. Patrick Green, good evening. Naya Griffith, are you going to be there on Saturday? The cybercrime bill. And we are also including this whole thing about violence. We are telling the government we are not safe. We do not feel safe in this country. We want to know from the Prime Minister, what is your policy on crime? And don't tell me about the peace program, because that is not working. Somebody needs to remind the Prime Minister, you cannot pay for peace. You cannot buy peace. Peace don't come from you giving somebody $100,000 or whatever the amount. I just use a random number. I'm not trying to say that they're giving them the gunmen in this country $100,000. What I'm saying is that there has to be a better plan than the peace program. It is clearly not working. We do not know what your policy on crime is. We don't understand it. Who remembers? Just in time, did you remember when this government just got into office and there was a lot of crime and so on? And they said, oh, well, they're worried about that. Crime will always be here. You remember that? It was very nonchalant. Who remembers that? Clyde Yvonne, do you remember? Jefferson Sobers, James Harding, Rosemary Lane, how are you doing? How are you doing in your part where you live? Everybody, please stay safe. Use your common sense. Be smart about what you're doing. Yes? ND. Yes, Marcia, my namesake. Yes, Kern Williams, Beverly Prescott, Judy Gills, good evening. Flo Joe. Can you imagine? I could never believe that this is where this is Barbados that I live in, where in 7 days 4 persons died by the bullet, lay down in the ground and dead. Just lay down. You see the man laying down on the ground. Now I won't show you his picture laying down on the ground, but but I mean, oh my God, Gillian, this is something else. We need to ask the Prime Minister, give us a policy on crime. We see that you're selling off Barbados. You have all these developments happening and all this money throwing into Barbados. You gave us new roads and you just spent $50 million on Kensington. You throw away $60 million on the whole project for houses that nobody has ever lived in. As the leader of opposition said, not even a rat has lived in any of those houses yet. $60 whole million, $50 whole million on World Cup, on Kensington. And look at what's happening to our nation. What is a policy on crime? What are you doing for those urban communities? What are you doing for those garrison areas? What's the plan? Cleopatra Gaskin, Joy and Faith, good evening. Marlene Marshall, you want to hear the plan too? Ask the Prime Minister, ask the government for the plan. What's the plan on crime in this country? Hi, Edwin. How you doing? Anybody knows what the policy is on crime in this country? Can anybody tell me what the policy is? What's the plan here? Does anybody on here believe that the peace program is working? Are we having any peace between the factions? We're not. Hey, Rameem, good evening. Greetings, loyal opposition. We must dig in 10 toes deep. Our governments are all selling us out cyber-wise and we'll soon have CBDCs to replace cash. Hey, yes, correct. Kerry Wilkinson, how are you? Peter King, I call on you already. Debajan, how you doing? Emerson Bob, peace, my brother. Greetings from the UK. It is time to take back our country. You're serious about that, Emerson? Llewellyn Eiffel. Beverly Prescott. Nat Grant. Sugarcane King, good evening. Jerome Gonzalez, good evening. Rollinston Broom, good evening. Sam Igbo, good evening. Tony Paris, I see that it's you, Marcia. Noel, Richard Mears. Yes, Richard, how are the guns getting into Barbados? Somebody in government, they know something. How does that come through customs? A lot of times what happens is that we have Richard, let me tell you something about this crime that I have come to know and found out, that there are some other ethnic groups. I'm going to put it like that for now. There are other ethnic groups that are, the allegation is that there are other ethnic groups that are the ones bringing in the guns. They're not killing each other with them though. But it's a business. And that the people that look like you and I, they go to these other people who set up their shops and so on, and they go to them and they buy the guns from other ethnic groups. I've heard this from the guys all the time. The guys that deal with the guys on the block, that is what I hear. That's what they're alleging, that the guns come from others, from other ethnic groups. I didn't say which one, not as yet. Hi, St. Clair. Anika Hope, good night. Yes, Hasbra, good night. Esther Blue, good night. Yeah, we're killing off. CG, yes, CG is all in. I know you. You crazy like me. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, I am telling you, we need to hold this government accountable. Wow, it's 7:15. I haven't played the anthem yet, but I just wanted to greet everybody and to ask you to like and to share. Like and share. A lot of us, we are troubled when we see all of these killings going on. People, we have a lot we want to say to you tonight. We ask you to like. We ask you to share. There are 534 of you on. We should have 534 likes. And you should have shared 534 times at a minimum. All right. Get it into your WhatsApp groups. Get it in share it on your pages. Share it out. Okay. All right. Let's do our anthem. Let's get our anthem. Yes. How many of us still fighting for our country? How many of us still feel that patriotism running in our veins? How many of us? How many of us are joining because we feel patriotic? We know this is what we're standing by. We're not lining up behind any other color but this, and for no other cause but this cause. How many of us are still doing that? How many of us have this the blue, yellow, and black blood running in the veins? Yes, this is what we stand for. This is what we stand for. This is us, and this is what we stand for. Yes? Wonderful. Oh my goodness. I'm seeing Mr. Murray is in. and I'm not sure if he's all ready to go, but I think he's ready to go. I think he's ready to go, and we are ready. We are ready. Good evening, good evening, Mr. Murray. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for having me again tonight. I hope I can make a worthy contribution to the program tonight.
Always, sir. Always.
Thank
It's
you.
very, very good to have you. It's feel safe when you're around you, Mr. McLean. It's good to be. We have such a great group of people working with, to be honest, and
Thank you.
yes, we have a good set of people working with, and it's very good to have you, Mr. Murray. And I look
Thank you.
forward to your presentations. And I know that tonight you have something quite interesting to talk about tonight.
I try. But before I get into that, Marcia, I'd like to know tonight is a special night for me. This shirt you're wearing is 50 years old.
Oh,
I I bought it in Jamaica
you
in
serious?
'74.
I
Yes,
can hardly see it though. You have to raise up a little bit for me to see the shirt.
you can any
Ah,
better?
yes.
50 years old. I bought it. I went to Montego Bay for a CARICOM conference when I was at the Advocate and bought this shirt. And
Wow.
I butt up on my wife butt up on the other in the cupboard. I said, wow, 50 years was 1974. I said, you'd be flattered to know that something I bought in Jamaica is almost as old as you are.
Oh my God. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Right, right.
Almost. Not even quite.
Right. But I also remember that night because it was like I said, it was a CARICOM conference,
Hmm.
and I had the rare experience of listening to some of the finest speakers the Caribbean had ever produced. Michael Manley,
Wow.
Sridhar Ramphal, Robert Bradshaw, Paul Southwell, Sonny Ramphal, Branford. I mean, it was a magnificent night. And it was at a dinner at, do you remember the name Rose Hall Intercontinental?
Yes, Rose
Uh,
Hall.
Ro-
Uh-huh.
right, that's in Montego Bay, right?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes.
That now, I'll never forget that night because you have some of the finest, and they were all quoting Latin and French and the classics, and it was
Wow.
an unforgettable night. Anyhow, I'm glad to be able to celebrate my anniversary with you.
Yes. I mean that is lovely.
But if I can come into the present, very much the present, as you will see, my topic is when seeing is not believing and why.
Mm-hmm.
When seeing is not believing and why. And that is, I came up, that topic occurred to me because from observing the national scene, I realized that no matter how hard the Prime Minister and her team seek to convince Barbadians that they're getting value for money the money spent on Kensington and Augustines, they're just not believing it. They're just not believing it. No matter how they try, to the extent that they try very hard, that what we in Barbados, we said they're very touchous, always very
Mm-hmm.
sensitive, but as though we have to believe it no matter what, but it just is not sticking. And I think that the public is doing that for a very good reason, um, because they're not buying it. Because I think I wonder if the government knows why, but I think I try to help them know why,
Mm-hmm.
understand why. From my estimation, uh, there's a an atmosphere, a stream, a foundation of disbelief in the country because of how about previous spending by the government or people in the government. Because there's an idea of the term spendthrift, excessive, extravagant spending
Mm-hmm.
by the government. I think that is at the core of it. But before let me tell you what I read that. Um, and it says, if you recall that some days ago, Mr. Thorne spoke about question the value for money at Oistins. All right, and this happened after there was a night when CBC on the news showed uh, Chantal Monroe, Minister Chantal Monroe, I'm sorry, and Kimar Harris of the Oyster Association pronouncing on the viability, the money spent on the project, etc. And I remember it because CBC did a very strange thing. To accept, and I've really never seen done quite like that yet in the journalism. I know CBC has been manipulated by both parties as a political instrument. I would talk about that another night because at one time I had the opportunity to manage that as a minister, and that never happened. But so Chantal Monroe spoke, Mr. Thorne spoke, and then the night when they carried Mr. Thorne's criticism, CBC repeated word for word the very same excerpt that they had carried to Cabinet before on watch Chantal Monroe and Kimar Harris. I said to myself, "This very I've never seen that." Not making reference, or Mr. Thorne had said that, but recently Minister Monroe said that it was repeat back to back. Very strange piece of what they call journalism. So I said, yeah, CBC is behaving like it's the 31st branch of the Barbados Labour Party, or maybe it has made itself channel 111 Roebuck Street, which is the headquarters for the BLP on the ground. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I've never seen it like that before. So, and in that regard, the PM is PM. Remember, the PM also had a town hall meeting at Kensington at the Oval. People said a town hall that in itself was novel, but it was a town hall meeting about the Oval. That was what was interesting, that it was at the Oval, about the Oval, and the money spent there. People just not believe that they're getting value for money for what they're seeing. People who've been to Oystins said, yeah, place that's all paid it up and has been improved, but they can't see where the value, where the $5 million spent. People who build houses, who are custom, say they're just not staying in the appointment, in the restructuring, is just not there. The same thing is happening at Kensington. So there's a credibility gap in the government. And if you could show me the slide one.
Slide number 1.
Right.
Okay, so we will get that up for you soon. Slide number 1.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let me read it while we wait. Okay, it's coming right in. It says,
go right ahead and read it,
please. It says, the lady doth protest too much, methinks. A line from the play Hamlet that has become a popular phrase in everyday speech to express doubt about someone's sincerity, especially regarding the truth of a strong and frequent denial.
So when I heard this whole episode, made me remember that excerpt from William Shakespeare's play Hamlet. The lady does protest too much, methinks. Again, like I said, when something is being done excessively and insistently, it's too hard, too strong, too much to believe. So it really is a reflection of the fact that they're not getting through to the public, change the public's mind in that regard. So the government has a credibility problem. It has a trust problem, I think. And I tell you why I say so. Because this you remember last week, I think it was last week, I made mention of something that used to be said when then Minister Mottley was dealing with certain subjects, particularly Minister Billy Miller would say, one thing about you, Miss Mottley, you don't hesitate to pay $3 million when 3,000 would do, especially when it's other people's money, taxpayers' money, right? And
Mr. Murray, can you repeat what you just said there? That's a very important point that you just made. I wonder if anybody, please listen to what Mr. Murray is saying.
The observation you say we made, and this is no cabinet secret, there's not even national secret, this what the several witnesses say. When often Ms. Mottley, as a Minister of Education, would present on a subject, on a project, on something, Miss Miller, who she credits for bringing her into politics, I would often say one thing about you, Miss Mottley. You don't hesitate to spend $3 million when 3,000 would do. In other words, spendthrift, taxpayers' money. There's no hard, right? So it is hard But this comes then for on the heel, and I found that people, the Barbarian people are believing it, and they're referring to it because they're, it used to be said that Barbarians have a short memory. The Barbarians say, Barbarians got short memory, don't remember, but not anymore, not for things like these at least. For example, people go back and remember when Minister Mottley, when she was Minister of Education and Culture, and EduTech program. EduTech program was another big ticket, big hard sell item. That was her pet child, her brainchild, her pet child. She championed it. Which was, you probably would not have been in it. Maybe not here that time. Were you in Barbados at that time? It's after '94. This
No,
when
no.
well, this was when uh, most of the secondary schools in Barbados were they had computers installed. They were refurbished. They were all refurbished and put in wires and all the technology needed for computerization of the school. This was supposed to start us on the road. So if that program had succeeded, we would have been well on the road to. We would not be so desperate now talking about digitalization. It was supposed to bring the school system into the 21st century by having all these uh, schools equipped with computer systems, etc. A lot of money was spent on rebuilding rooms and installing cables and hardware and whatnot. And then it died a death. I'm not
Okay.
sure it died a death. Okay, so that was another. And I cannot even remember ever hearing the true cost. By $7 million, $7 million, um, $7 million were spent on that project.
Mm-hmm.
So but then the Barbadian memory is even longer. People even make reference to the fact that this spendthrift attitude, as seen in what as people believe was happening with Kensington Oval and Oystens, etc. This whole
Mm-hmm.
right, you feel that this might be a family trait because they made reference to the fact that the Prime Minister got our grandfather, Ernest Layton Money, when he's in local government, when he was mayor of the city of Bridgetown, etc. He was in the vestry, and there was that similar attitude of of priming the pump, of spending money on the constituents of the city, especially. This was money raised through taxation of persons who live in the municipality,
Mm-hmm.
pay taxes on their property, on their business, and that money they went to help look after needs of the community, build roads, help people, etc. But that seemed then that there was a reputation of spendthrift down there, but that was used to consolidate. It was Fields his power. And to a matter of extent, to a matter of fact, that was one of the reasons what led Prime Minister Albar to abolish local government
Mm-hmm.
because he said he could not get Mali out of the city. You'd have to take the city out, out of Mali.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's this history of it. Then there was to the there was also when at one time the prime minister was in charge of CBC, there was a question of a $20 million loan to CBC, and it was that loan was made possible because Prime Minister Oynat had said he wanted to sell CBC to the
Mm-hmm.
public through the trade with the unions, the staff, credit unions, let it be owned by the public. But he felt he had to upgrade it to make it a viable proposition that any people want to buy into. So $20 million went to spend on CBC. And lo and behold, at the end of the day, there's very little left to be seen. People went, I understand people went globe trotting, traveling.
So,
One
so
person had
at the time, what role did our prime minister have to do with
she,
this?
she would have had ministerial responsibility for CBC at one time too. At
Ah,
that time, at that
and
time,
that was $20 million, and you
uh,
couldn't tell
yeah,
where it was.
yeah. I mean, people. You heard stories of people getting paid a consultant for a makeup consultant getting $15,000 a month. It was extravagant. I mean, $15,000 back in the early 2000s, a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money.
Oh,
15,000 it's a lot. So there's this history. And then, of course, there was remember the vaccine and the deal where a private businessman was supposed to be working to bring
Yeah.
these vaccines about, right? Uh, the money, the prime minister made it clear that not a red cent of our taxpayers' money went towards that deal, almost deal, which is true. But my understanding is that the money was raised from the private sector Barbados, from the philanthropic persons and organizations, and as a result of how that has turned out, how it's ended in the courts in Florida, that has left a nasty taste in the person's mouth, and they're no longer willing to contribute those kind of undertakings.
Mr. Murray Holman, you're dealing on some. I normally don't interrupt you, but you got it. You have to come on. You have to come again. You have to wheel and come again, as the young people would say. So, Mr. Murray, you're saying that this when they had the scandal there, or the scam,
Right, right.
with the injections. We'll say injections on here, okay? With
Okay.
those injections for COVID, that we were told that it wasn't any money from the taxpayer.
Taxpayers, right.
It was from you know,
Local sources in the private sector.
and those persons, when they're now out of money, then there's no jobs, and everything is tied up in the court. They have lost all of their money.
And they're not happy to this day. They're not happy because don't forget this was a case where the permanent secretary signed, authorized this deal, and the Minister Boston said he knew nothing of it. Remember that?
Yes.
Remember, right. So that all that is public record. Um, but then there was also the people look at the cost of Freedom Park.
Mm.
Freedom Park, remember the Freedom Park downtown?
Yes.
I never heard exactly how much it cost, and maybe it was said. I've heard about the $3 million spent on the abstract contraption in the National Hero Square that's supposed to represent the family. And then when you add to that the the Hope Houses scandal, which is supposed to be investigated, it really, so people are skeptical because they have this accumulation of incidents that make it seem that though as though the taxpayers, because the taxpayer, I have to say the taxpayers' money, because there's a loan for the African Import-Export Bank to Barbados, the taxpayers have to repay the loan. I think it's $50 million over 7 years at 7.5% or 7%, something like that, which is a lot of money in
Mhm.
short period of time. But we're not getting any special deal from African Import Bank, even though they are brothers and sisters and cousins. It's a bank, it's running a business, so the idea that we would get a special deal, like we were made to believe we would get a special treatment from the IMF, only to have the Prime Minister say a couple of weeks ago that what has happened, the way it has turned out, she was very upset and criticized the IMF to the point that admitted that Barbados is now, Barbados and other countries are now into a continuous cycle of agreements that technically see people borrowing from the IMF to repay the IMF. So it's that kind of thing. Although we were never told that was going to be the complications. It would have been such a complex, demanding. We had made it seem as though this IMF program was going to usher in a new era of prosperity and goodness. We've gotten austerity, but not prosperity. But they tell me that where the $50 million are concerned, that people are saying money floating around. There's a lot of money in circulations. In circulation, um, I'm saying that there's money. There are instances where people have been submitting quotations to do work, and people say, 15,000 or maybe 45,000. Don't worry, I take care of it. So there's money going around, I mean the from what my information is the proliferation of nepotism and cronyism, uh, 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 and patronage is tremendous. Um, Again, the family, the friends, and the fornicators are benefiting from this, and this expanding cost as you go along. So that's the situation why people people do not believe people do not believe that they get a value for money at Kensington. No, they understand because Barbados is, apart from that, I think the persons who promoted World Cup have over promoted, over promised, over excited expectations, especially forgetting that in 2007, a similar undertaking was a very big disappointment because things did not go through no fault of the government, because sports, especially cricket, is a very fragile, that is depends on the weather. Anything can happen in sports. You can't always guarantee an outcome. So this idea then that we are um, we are in for the glorious time. People are not seeing the value of the money right now, and seeing is believing. I mean, what is happening before there were instances where these concepts in this program were abstract, but now you can go to Austin and see it and touch it, smell it for yourself. You can go to Kensington and see it, and people are not seeing. People are not seeing. So there's what in social psychology called uh, it's called, and if you go to slide 2, it's called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. I think
So
there's a definition.
we're going to go to slide 2 now.
Slide 2, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
like what has happened is that people are confused, people are not sure, people are weighing one against the other, and it's called in social psychology cognitive dissonance. If you can read that definition for
The
me, that'd be
definition
great.
of cognitive dissonance, a
Right,
concept in social psychology that happens when a person holds two conflicting thoughts in mind at the same time over the same person, thing, event. So let me read that again. It's a concept in social psychology that happens when a person holds two conflicting thoughts in mind at the same time over the same person, thing, or event.
right. So that is what has happened. So people are, because of the past experiences, people are, and some of the negativity, the doubts, and unhappiness and dissatisfaction that happened in the past is buried in the public psyche and mind, and the political memory of Barbados. That what they say, what is happening now with the World Cup is triggering memories of those earlier incidents. That's why you have the dissonance, the conflict between
Mm.
believing and not believing. I believe some, I want to believe. So that is what is called um, cognitive dissonance. So that is why we are calling, that is what's going on in society, and people are not believing it. Um, so um, we have a battle on our hand. Uh, the people are hoping that things go well. People want the World Cup to go well because Barbados will benefit in several ways, but they're not happy with the way uh, things are going at the moment. They're not happy with what they're seeing, um, with what they're seeing going on, and therefore they are expressing their doubts about the viability of it. In fact, some people, someone I was talking to, they say whenever they hear these things, they remember there's a song by Shirley Bassey called "Big Spender." You know the song? You know the song?
No, I don't.
Yeah. It says, "What if my wrist, the moment I saw you, I knew you were a big spender. Come on, and spend." Right? It's a lovely song, uh, Big Spender.
Listen, you know you don't put these things on there because people are gonna create a meme out of that about this woman in a big spender. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
I mean, Shirley Bassey does a lovely rendition of it. Shirley Bassey, yeah, Shirley Bassey is my favorite for that. Big Spender. Come and spend a little time with me. So, that is what is happening, and um, the I was even hearing stories that I'm sorry, at the on the weekend when there was the PM's box at Kensington over, when I think when England played, England played Australia, or who they, I forgot the match at Kensington over last weekend,
Right.
where they
It
had a
was
good,
wasn't it Australia and England?
Right, I think Australia and England, right, right. I understand some people who went to I was told this, I was not there, but I understand that you could see the extravagant style demonstrated in the fair of of FARE food, the entertainment, the the offerings, the servings. I understand you had from lobster, shrimp, steak back down. That I could be wrong. I apologize if I'm wrong, if I was misled. I understand. And as they say, that the Bajans say long neck, big mouth drinks. I
Uh-huh.
understand. So, and I'm sure that catering, that catering would have to come out of that $50 million. So they're having some people are having a good time. The elite, the new elite, the new that has come into place, inserted itself or has been allowed to develop or implanted with this government are in it. They were there, their numbers, their friends, their family, etc. And you could see again what we have to call the Negrocrats living in their own element, enjoying the entitlement and at the taxpayers they say. And so there's a lot, and there's a lot. I've seen this spendthrift happen. I remember even politically. I remember once we had in the 2013 campaign. Don't forget I was once accused of not when it was a campaign, that same campaign, of getting not giving work to the prime minister's people, right? Jobs, right? Work for them. We had a falling out about that, and I don't think we ever quite recovered from that. But that's not part of the big thing. There was a decision among this elite group that is always start. They don't seem like branch meetings, put no chairs, selling tickets, mixing drinks. They just appear on the scenes on the fringes, but they enjoy the benefits. So there was decided that they wanted some paraphernalia that would help promote the BLP, and they decided they would get some umbrellas. Umbrellas were ordered because I was operations manager, so I was in the midst of everything. And then we investigated umbrellas. I think they were charged $20 each for the umbrella, and the umbrellas you understand cost about $2 or $3. So they're
Mm.
bought at $2 or $3, sold to the BLP
So,
campaign for
mm-hmm.
20 plus. So you can imagine the kind of money that's made because campaigns are seen as money making jobs. People get rich, people get money out of it, and therefore, um, this is part of the entitlement. So do not be surprised at what you hear or see more is going on now. It has happened before, right? And as long as this attitude that we've had events in Barbados before, but I can't. I know, for example, I know Prime Minister, neither Prime Minister Tom Adams nor Arthur would have condoned that because this extravagant, because they themselves were very careful. Like for example, you the every year in the estimates, Prime Minister Arthur would try to do improve something about the official residence in our court. One year you buy a stove, next year you buy a fridge, I would something. So because it's not to give the people the idea that he's making that house, which is his official residence, better off than the average Barbadian at the taxpayers' expense. Okay, so they were very careful to manage things. In fact, and Prime Minister Adams was the same thing. As a matter of Prime Minister Adams was so careful that he used to write his own personal expense. He used to keep a daily account of the money he spent, his
Mm.
personal money. So there's this thriftiness, which was the hallmark of Barbadian management and administration, governments. We did, and that enhanced Barbados' reputation. So much so that I remember in 1960, when they were building the Deepwater Harbor between 5960, 5960, a loan was floated I remember it because I heard it on the BBC News. Barbados floated a loan to raise some money to build the Bridgetown Harbor, was not the Bridgetown Harbor, the Bridgetown Port. And Barbados' reputation for financial management was so good. The loan, I think, I forget if it's £10 million. I forgot what the figure was. But I remember it was oversubscribed in less than 10 minutes. This is Little Barbados, back 50th, 59th, 60s, a colony, right? But its reputation for financial and management and administration was so good that the London Stock Exchange responded and expressed their faith in Barbados and their confidence and their approval of the way things because of pyramid. So that is the kind of reputation. So
Yes.
we are.
Yeah.
So I'm saying. So the reason why it stands out to me is because it runs contrary to the tradition and practice and reputation that we used to have. Like I said last time, and I repeat it, Barbados was never a grant in aid colony. Barbados always paid its way out of its own resources, build its infrastructure. Britain never sent £1 million a year to run Barbados. We did that out of our reserve. And that is why we were able to stand up for Britain in 1652 against the British when they wanted to force us to become part of the Commonwealth. And Barbados stood up and said, "No, we are sticking with the monarchy." We had that's where the Treaty of Oyster. And we were besieged by Britain. We and Britain were at war for 3 months in 1651-52. So and they're calling the phrase because they want to impose a tax for Barbados. So Barbados said, "No, we raise our own funds. No taxation for representation. We are not represented in the British Parliament, and therefore you cannot impose that on us." And that is where George Washington, who came to Barbados some years after, got that concept from a no taxation and used it in the 1770s. So what 1766? Well, it's 1776, 1776, I think, revolution against overthrow the British ruling with the Tea Party, the Boston Tea Party, etc. And for independence. So we have a long and proud history,
Heritage.
heritage, and
Yeah.
I am not sure of it. I've been going for a while. Do you want to ask
Yeah.
any? Do you want me to amplify it?
Ramim is saying, how we have fallen, now a begging country. And Simply Patriot is saying she has the money, taxpayers' money. Guys, make your comments. Any comments to what you've heard of Mr. Murray's presentation? Please do put up the comments that you want to put up. In the meantime, though, let me just speak about the march that is coming up this Saturday, Mr. Murray.
Go
This
right
Saturday
ahead.
we're out again because we are determined that we will not be silenced. The World Cup is going on, and we're not going to be making merry and forgetting about our troubles. We have issues to deal with in Barbados. One has to do with the cyber crime bill, and we're not taking our fingers off of that. We're keeping our fingers onto that cybercrime bill. We're making sure that we are speaking about it. We are loud and we are clear that we will not be silenced. We are clear in saying that this bill takes away our constitutional rights from sections 19 to 23. The other parts of the bill that they are good, important. Some of it is repetitive because we already have defamation laws. We already have the Computer Misuse Act for so many other things that they're repeating. But we're saying and making it clear to the government of Barbados that you are infringing on our constitutional rights and our human rights. And it is for that reason that we have already reached out to a human rights lawyer overseas concerning this issue because we are very, very serious about it. And we are going to be hitting the pavement again on Saturday. We're asking everybody, come out. Now, this time around, Mr. Murray, what we're going to do, we're not going to stay in Independence Square when we get there. We are not going to do that because it costs an extra $1,100, all right, or thereabouts. We are going to just do the march and we greet each other. We can sit down and chat as we always do because we're family. We love to see each other. When it's over, we sit down and eat a snow cone and talk to each other and drink some of Aisha's juice. Juice woman will be there with some lovely juice. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to be spending big. We're not no big spenders in here, okay? We're very aware about the economy and that the monies for these marches come from you. They come from me. We put our monies into these marches. And so we're not going to overspend because we know the next weekend we will have roadside parliament again. You understand what I'm saying? So this is not, we're not going to be spending what we don't need to spend. We're going to put everything together. We're going to do the speeches on top of the truck, the singing on top of the truck. In those 2 hours, we're going to make that work and save some money, right? Yes, because we do have a roadside parliament where we can express ourselves a bit more. All right. So that's what we're going to do. And guess what, folks? We're including the whole issue of gun violence. We're making a demand on this government, and we are demanding from them a policy on crime reduction in Barbados. We are demanding of this government that has been taking, we're overtaxed more than any other time in the history of Barbados. Okay, we are that generation that has been taxed over these 5 years more than any time in any administration. We are overtaxed here. And you're telling me that for 5 years you have not been able to put forward a plan for crime reduction in Barbados? Instead, you decide you want to spend money. You're paying money again, big spenders again, Mr. Murray. So we're inviting everybody to come down to the march Saturday. We're going to be starting at REDMAN Drive, right there at the traffic lights on Fontebelle Road. Okay? Fontebelle Road, you see the traffic lights there, and we're going to be right there. You're going to see our truck there, and we're going to go all the way to Independence Square. It is important. Don't stay home. Don't be lazy and stay home. Some people are lazy and stay home. Some people are not well and they can't come out. So if I am well, I'm going to make sure that I'm out. You have your 2 knees intact, your toes intact, your hips are intact. You can walk. Come out. Don't stay in. Plan what you have to do and come out to the marches. Bring a donation to help us alleviate the costs of the march, and so that we have enough for the next week. We are planning to march for the entire month of June because we are refusing to party and to gallivant and to do all these different things when our country is not well, and when we're freedom of speech and freedom of expression, when they're under attack. We cannot gallivant. We cannot party. And that's why, listen out, you might just have a march at Kadooment. Listen out carefully because we crazy. Mr. Murray, you have anything to say about the march? Something real quick? Because
I think I'm fully supportive of the march and the perpetuation of the marches. You have to keep drawing attention to it. And I was very pleased to hear you said that you've engaged the attention of a human rights lawyer, because Barbados, again, like apart from Barbados having a traditional reputation of being well managed, we are wanting to describe the best managed Black country in the world. We also had a fine reputation when Heritage House and various Chatham House did their surveys about human rights and democracy. We used to always write very highly in the Caribbean. So this threat to freedom of expression, and if that bill comes into what I said just now could not be said because some people's feelings might be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I was reciting factual information, but feelings hurt, reputation, the insecure. But the same thing. So I'm thinking that we need to maintain the pressure on the government. Don't forget, my first diagnosis of this show was that it was essentially a pressure group. You are still a pressure group.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, you have to exert that pressure wherever possible, as often as possible. I agree that you should strategically move to involve gun violence. You cannot tell me that you see headlines. Minister Corey Lane said the truce is holding, the truce is working, and then night after night, every few nights, 2, 3 people die. What truce? What truce? Truce among groups, gangs over the country, but still people are dying. It does not make sense. The two have to be connected. There are no coincidences in these kind of situations. In life, there are no coincidences.
Yeah.
So I think that's a hollow boast to brag about the truth is working, etc. And at the same time, people are being shot down all over Barbados night after night.
Yes.
Right, I think they should be held to account for it. Should come and explain to the public what is going on, what their analysis is, what their plans are. We don't need strategic operational thing. We just want to have better general and broad reassurance that they're on top of the situation, they're using all the resources that they're probably bringing, external resources to get the help, but that they are trying to preserve. Because the first duty of a government is not to give roads, school, health, jobs. The first job of a government, any government, is to preserve the security and the safety of the country, and that's the first job, the first most sacred obligation of the government. And if that one is neglected, because without that, nothing else is possible. The society crumbles, it collapses, it becomes dysfunction. So therefore, it's very important that we maintain current levels of activity, but that the society does not become besieged and hemmed in by crime.
Yes, agreed, agreed. And it is not that we are saying that it is only the government's responsibility, but what we're saying is that it is clear from what we're seeing based on what was promised and the money that is being spent to pay people in this peace program. We need accountability, and we have to ask the government for that. We employ them, we put them there. Well, we have, let me welcome Miss Lady Virtue to our show tonight. Good night, Lady Virtue.
Hello, good night, and
Good night. Can
can
you
you hear
speak
me?
a little louder?
Yeah, good night, and thanks for inviting me on the show. Good night to everyone.
Yes, good night, Lady Virtue. It is a joy, real joy to have you on tonight. And I know that we are here to talk about, partly to talk about a calypso that I heard today and that almost brought me to tears. I'm seeing your beautiful face there now. And that almost brought me to tears, Lady Virtue. And one of the reasons it's called what's the name of the calypso? Can you tell us the name again?
Okay, the name of my calypso is Barbados We Cry, and that
Barbados.
says that there's a lot in the name of a song.
Yes, Barbados we cry, and I felt it a bit more than if I didn't know you. I probably would not. Yes, it is sad. It is very sad, and even the instrumentation and the way it's arranged and so on, really sad. But I know that you're not just singing this song because it's crop over and you're doing social commentary. I've had long conversations with you, and I don't think you remember. I don't think you even remember. And
I
your
do.
heart for the community. You are the same person, Lady Virtue, that puts on. You put on a. You put on what you call it. Something for
I
the
give back to
children in the
at
community
Christmas. Yes,
at
at Christmas. Yeah,
Christmas. That's what this
yeah.
lady does. I'm telling you, she does a lot
And
of community work.
and 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 quite recently, I had a Easter camp for the children in the community.
Yes. So this Calypsonian and businesswoman, you know her, in another another, she does the tents and the Julie rentals, does all of those other things. But she is one businesswoman and a Calypsonian. That is, she's not just singing because she likes, somebody wrote a song for her. You know that kind of way, and I like the melody and the arrangement. This Lady Virtue here, I can tell you, she means every single word of that song. And I tell you, Lady Virtue, when I sat down and I listened to it, I remembered hearing you talk, and I remember all the different community projects that you have done, and we are talking about the community projects because we are talking big. This song is real. Tell us about the song. Tell us about the song, Lady Virtue.
This song means to me the same thing that Africa in Me that I sang last year meant to me, believe it or not. Um, because when you see, I either go big or I go home, right?
Hmm.
Um, and persons with Africa in me, I felt that. And that's why I went all the way to Uganda to experience the culture. You know, funny enough, it never got out of the tents to do any performance anyway, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not the song who sings, is who sings the song, you know, that it will get its mileage. But
Yes.
Barbados, we cry. Um, you know, I sat there and I listened to Mr. Murray speaking, and I said to myself, approximately 8 years ago, it could be, I sent in a proposal to the then minister, then I think of education. And I wanted, and I had just brought up a song called What the Gun I Do. In other words, what the gun is doing. And the crime of violence has just started to take off a little bit, you know. It could be about 10 years ago. And I sent in a proposal to do a march, you know. I got someone with me to draft it up and everything, because I brought up this song, What They Gonna Do. I brought a music video, and I said, look, before this thing gets out of hand, I think I should do a march. I sent it in. Obviously, it was rejected, and you know, but I at that time I think it was still manageable, and this march would not have been just for the citizens of Barbados, but to me it would have been a march for our school children, because to be able to get the message to the widest community, we have to start with the children, right? And that's why I believe that we don't love ourselves as much as we should in terms of our nationalism and stuff like that. It's because we need to start from young. You understand? But I had this idea for this march because I know that eventually it would affect the schools and all this kind of thing. But it got rejected. Anyhow, be that as it may, I still continued my work in the community or whatever. But this song, Barbados We Cry, I got up on January the 8th in the morning, and this melody hit me. And the song title and everything. I mean, there's always a story behind every song that I do, huh? Believe it or not. And the melody hit me, and I said, look, and the title came and everything. And I said, look, I have to do this song this year. And I started to reach out to, you know, some persons who write to see if they can pen this song for me. Obviously, I would give them the direction that I wanted to go. But again, I was, you know, rejected, you know. And then I decided, look, you know, the thought came to my mind not to sing this year. Um, but I said, you see that thought? That is the thought that stops a lot of people from progressing. You know, every time that you are about to do something that will impact, there's always this other voice that says not to do it. And sometimes some people listen to that voice because that's the easier thing to do. Because um remember, it is really hard to be ambitious. It is really hard to step out the box. It is so easy to stay in your comfort zone, you know. But I said no. I have to bring a song this year, and when I bring a song this year, I have to bring something with meaning, not just a song. So the lyrical, the melody had come, some of the lyrics had come, but I just needed someone to pen this song. And the first person that I reached out to was Ronnie Clark. But because he was busy with his work and stuff like that, I started to reach out to other people. And it went wrong in a circle, and I ended right back at him. And I said, look, this is what I want. This is the direction that I want to go. And the things that I told him were things from my heart, things that I was seeing, things that people were calling in on brass stacks, and things that people were calling in on tell it like it, things that they were complaining about. And not just me listening to brass stacks and tell it like it is, but me actually seeing these things that are happening in my community. Now, I grew up in a community where everybody looked up for each other. Yes, all of us would know that back then, yes, there was always crime and violence, but not at the level that we are experiencing it, you know? And there comes a time when you have to say, look, you know, it is enough. or there comes a time when you have to say, look, I have to play my part. However small it may be, you can play your part. And me bringing this song is me playing my part. Because at the end of the day, we have to understand as a people that all of us are connected. I have 2 grandchildren. Okay, you might not like me, but you're not liking me does not stop my grandchildren from getting involved with one of your grandchildren later on in life. If you understand what I'm saying. So we are all connected.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely.
We are all
definitely.
But
you know,
all connected.
You know, Julie, where people here are saying they want to hear the song. They see this beautiful picture on here, and so we're gonna play the song right now. So let's listen to Barbados We Cry.
Barbados, my beautiful Barbados. They tell themselves I do not matter. My opinions, my songs don't resonate. Them trying to bring me to tears after all these years. It's too much, too little, too late. Jesus wept, so have I. Too many things happening in Vim already caused me to cry. A river like Jackie Opalside and Beckett from long ago. No woman, no cry. Bob Marley, now I must cry also. Oh, Barbados, cry Barbados. Morals and values keep slipping away on a highway to hell on Judgment Day. Barbados, cry Barbados. Lack of discipline and self-respect, the love of God we don't accept. Crime and violence, murder and guns, senseless killing of our sons. We living in danger, we cannot deny. That is why we cry. Barbados, we cry, 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 cry. Barbados, we cry. Barbados, remember, God is watching us from above. Politicians, power, and political parties making decisions on our behalf. The cost of living is really the cost of dying. Just like Mr. Dale, I just got to laugh. Jesus wept, so have you. They're pushing away the older people to bring on the youth. Experience with youth, they reject. So we're lacking in customer care, and our schools have become a fashion for hair. So we continue to cry today. Oh, Barbados, cry Barbados. Morals and values keep slipping away on a highway to hell on Judgment Day. Barbados, my sweet Barbados. Lack of discipline and self-respect, the love of God we don't accept. Crime and violence, murder and guns, senseless killing of our sons. We living in danger, we cannot deny. That is why we cry. Barbados, we cry, 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 cry. Barbados, we cry. Barbados, we need to get back to God. It's a privilege to be alive on this grand occasion. 50 years of crop over, we celebrate, paying tribute to those who laid the foundation, and the NCF who makes the festival great. Jesus wept, so have we. Disunity, envy, and jealousy, naked departure from Africa, lewdness portrayed as our culture. To rise like an eagle, we have to try and hear our ancestors cry. Oh, Barbados, my sweet Barbados. Morals and values keep slipping away on a highway to hell on Judgment Day. Barbados, cry Barbados. Lack of discipline and self-respect, the love of God we don't accept. Crime and violence, murder and guns, senseless killing of our sons. We living in danger, we cannot deny. That is why we cry. Barbados, we cry, 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 cry. Barbados, we cry. Father, teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts to wisdom. Barbados, we cry. Barbados, we cry.
The chorus, it just has me, and I don't know what kind of instrumentation all of that is, but there is just this, it's beautiful, it's real, it's sweet, it's very sweet. I love the chorus of it, and there's something with the kind of instruments that are used in that chorus. Oh boy, I think you have a good one here, Lady Virtue.
Thank you so very much. Although it is my song, I listened to it just now and it almost made me cry.
I saw that.
I listened to it with different ears just now, because I guess your program has so much emotion in it, and it's so fulfilling that listening to it here meant something different to me.
Yes.
But I want to say that the song, the way it is put together, Andy Williams is the arranger, and I told him exactly what I wanted to hear. I told him I wanted this flute, because the song has to lament. The song has to, and it's not intended to paint Barbados in any bad way or anything like that. But the song, you have to lament. You have to think about the good times, and then you have to think about the bad times, and then you have to think about going back to the good times. You understand what I'm saying? You have to think about what is happening now, and you have to understand that it's only when crime and violence come to our doorstep is when we feel it the most, and we don't have to wait till it comes to our doorstep to feel it. We need to get up and we need to act now. You understand? So this is a song that should touch every Bajan man, woman, or child, and make them get up and say, look, we need to act. This thing is happening too often.
Yes. I mean, we look here. This is a young man. I have three sons, I have three sons, and oh God, I looked and I didn't put the one with him on the ground, because we've seen so many of them on the ground, and it's so sad. We all have, some of us have children, we have sons. Father's Day is coming up. If he had a dad, Father's Day is coming up. The father has lost a son, and we have lost four of our sons in this country. In 7 days, we've lost four sons. In 24 hours, we've lost two sons in this country. And I could say, those are not my children. But the truth is, they are all our children. And
Yeah.
so this song, I believe, is so appropriate. And Julie, someone said, Easy D saying he's in tears right now. Someone is also said, that we have the march on Saturday, and I heard you said that you wanted to do a march and you never got the chance to do this march. And I want to invite you to sing this song to the people on the streets sing it to the people that are right there at is that Cheapside? Huh?
Yeah,
Cheapside.
that's part of Cheapside. Yeah,
Thank you
Redmond's.
very much. I keep
Right.
mixing the markets. Apology. Cheapside Market right there, right? Right. Fair Trade is up on the other side. Cheapside. To sing it to the people on the street. Look in the eyes of the people and sing it. I know you can sing it in your tent. And when is your tent gonna be again? Tell me quickly.
The tent is opening on the 28th of June at the Daphne Joseph Hackett Theatre. But I'm not here to yes, I'm the tent manager. I'm not here to talk about the tent because I don't want to lose the feeling of what I'm feeling now by speaking about the tent. And I thank you for asking me that, but I don't want to go there. That's the truth, I don't want to be selfish and promote tent. I want to talk about some of the things that in this song that 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 is hurting me.
Yes.
The discipline has gone. Some of the praise at some schools has gone. Now, what hit me more is about the hairstyles at school. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, I've been to Africa and I saw most of the children, the girls. I saw all of them. Like I asked a question, why all these girls had ball at school? They said because school is not a competition. They come here to learn. So the child that is rich is not going to show off with the child that or good hair do. So everybody here has to be bald, right?
Your volume went down, Lady Virtue.
You're there?
Yes, I'm here, but you're okay. Keep going. Yes.
Sorry, a call came through.
Yes.
So when I saw that the decision was made for children to wear their hairstyles to school, I know some people might not agree with me, but this is how I looked at it. Okay, we have to protect people, and more likely we have to protect the poor. Okay. Now, yes, there will be some parents who will make sure that their children's hair are tidy and that they go to school looking a certain way. But we have to protect those children whose parents might not see it that way. We have to protect those children whose parents that might decide to put hair extensions now on the list for things that are necessary for school.
Yes.
And decide that they will sacrifice paying these petty fees to buying hair extensions and making the child hair look good when really that's not a part of learning. You understand? We have to protect the people who, the children whose parents would say, my look, I ain't get chance to plot over you here this weekend. Go long as you is, or go long as you are, whatever the correct English might be, right? So we have to protect, we always have to protect the poor because those are the most vulnerable ones. You understand? And you will see back in the days of COVID, you will see the children who kept up with the schoolwork are the children whose parents were able to afford the laptops, the phone, or whatever. And those who fell behind are the ones who were poor, who were not able to buy these gadgets. So what I'm saying is that we always have to protect the poor. We always have to protect those persons that who might not have forward thinking or can probably only see as far as their nose. So you will see each and every time it is the ones who at the bottom of the ladder is the ones who will always be disadvantaged. So don't get me wrong, hairstyles are fine. But what about the ones whose parents are not going to care one iota about how that hair looks when you're going to school? I pass on the road and I see children with some obnoxious hairstyles, and I'm saying, this is what Barbados come to.
But you know,
see,
Julie,
we have to,
Lady Virtue, I need to call you by your stage name. Ma'am, I hear your heart, and this is why the song, people on here are just talking about how were crying watching your song, men, women. And it's because, do you hear her passion? And this is something I see Mr. Franklin is on. This is something Mr. Franklin has been talking about, the hairstyle. Because the reality is that when, as a teacher, think about it. The children are allowed to come to school anyhow they want to come to school. I see children in town and I'm like, my goodness, can you imagine the
Exactly.
indiscipline that is in the classroom? And this is what this government, in on top of all that was going on, you won't say it, Julie, but I'm going to say it. We see what was happening to our young people, Mr. Franklin. And you're going to tell me on top of that, we're going to pile on another layer of indiscipline? We should be trying to curb things. This is just a bad government for this country. Mr. Franklin, what are your thoughts on what Lady Virtue is saying?
I was listening to myself speak with another voice when I heard her just now, because Marcia, this is complete madness. No, I cannot agree with her more. This, what people don't understand, that is why children wear uniforms. Because the rich people go to send to school their children in leather suits and whatever else you have, leather jackets. And then the poor people will come to school and they don't have anything and they will look bad and people will envy them and that will cause some sort of problems for the poor. So we decided eons ago that children should look alike, wear the same uniforms and that kind of thing. And this government this is a government of people, they don't care. And the Prime Minister said it herself. She don't pretend to know about maths or English. She just pretend to care about people. And the pretense is there for everybody to see. Our children now are wild. And let me tell you something. Talk to teachers. I have a few teachers in my union, and the horrors that teachers tell me. You wouldn't want to go into the teaching profession. Not now. And so when you hear people talking about teachers and they're not doing this and not doing that, teachers are afraid of their students now because you can't even talk to them too hard. Because remember the Deputy Prime Minister, when she was Minister of Education, she told the people, tell them call the police. I don't know what the police can do because if you're not brutalizing the child, and if they don't want you to administer discipline in the school, change the law. They have not changed the law. And ministers don't come and make law by edict and terrorize people. So everything is breaking down. And for what reason, I do not know. Just for politics, to get some votes. Our children look like these cruft with the earth now going to school. And you see them. I saw today alone a girl with blonde hair weaved into her hair going to school, That is a distraction. But we did it to ourselves. We voted for them.
Yeah.
No, sorry, not we. I don't claim any part of that.
You
But
know, Mr. Franklin, I'm just, these things just get me, Julie. It just gets me, honestly. When I see them in town, you see what Marcia said here, my namesake. This is how I feel. Sometimes all I can do is shake my head. I said, look how these people are mashing up this country. Look how they're destroying our morals. So you see, we have an immoral government. Immoral. She says, I see it on a daily, general, and it's totally hurtful and sad to see the way our children are going to school and the parents, you allowing them to tell you how to run your households. Oh boy, Julie, let you go. I know you have some final
Yeah,
comments
but
to make.
I want to make one very important point before I go, right? As a business owner, for the past 23 years, I recognize that the school is the training ground for the workplace, right? Good. So if we think we have bad workplaces now, you can imagine what is going to happen in the next 10 years,
Wow.
5-10 years when these children come out. Because I will say this, I can always tell by the people that I employ who used to get school early, who had a problem with authority, who was not a team player, who stand home every time the rain fell. I can tell by the attitude in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't have discipline in our schools, these same children will end up in the workplace. You understand?
Yes.
And when these children, and if we think that we got a problem with customer care now, we got something else coming,
Yes,
because
Julie.
because school is the training ground for the workplace.
Yes. Well, Julie, I want to say, I mean,
But
Lady Virtue.
before she goes, Marcia,
Yes, yes, Mr.
I
Mike.
want to say to her, thank you. You know, because so many people in Barbados are not willing to stand up and say these things. A lot of people know that. You know, what you are saying is not foreign, but people are afraid to stand up and speak out. You know, the point you made just now with people in the workforce. I represent people in the workforce every day today. And on occasion, people leave my office being abusive to me because when they come into my office and they tell me what happened at work, and they say, well, if you were working for me, I'd fire you too. You know, and they will say, but you're my union and you telling me so. I said, but you want me to tell you that you were right, you were not. You know, they feel entitled because they have a union backing them, or because they I don't know what. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of indiscipline out there. But there's indiscipline from the workers, and there's an indiscipline from people in management, because they too went to school and they too misbehaved, or they were too bad behaved. They were lucky to get managerial jobs. The whole place is in chaos.
Yeah.
You know? And they curse
Marcia,
me.
Yeah. Yes, yes, Mr. Murray.
yeah, I just wanted to commend Lady Virtue Julie. We used to talk fairly regularly from time to time, but we haven't spoken in a while. For sticking to her principles, not losing her grounding in her principles, her values, her morality. And it will make her a better person. It will make Barbados a better society. Because I'm yet to hear any even attempted reason given by the government as to why they change the standards and the uniformity. Uniform is meant to bring equality, simplify things, and everybody should look. Can you imagine if you were in the police force and everybody went to work in different color pants and what? Uniform means the same. It means by maintaining, it calls for a discipline to maintain your uniform in a standard. All that is the inculcation of discipline from the from the child up, from the very beginning. But as a matter of fact, I just like to deviate from one, disagree with Julie, and both Julie and Caswell. The discipline has to start from home. The parents have to, in the same way, I've often said this, in the same way that when people are pregnant, when women are pregnant, they get prenatal and postnatal information and guidance and booklets. And if we need also to give them how you need development, how to look after your child even from the time it's in your womb. You can influence by your behavior, the same way you can influence the body, what you eat, your music, the singing, the talking, your whole demeanor. That is where the education of the child begins while it is in internal about. And it's very true because I put it to the test when I did some developmental psychology. I wrote a paper on it. So I know it influences from the very beginning. You know, one of the reasons why people like to go around the river or the sea, because that water always goes back into this cycle. Remember when they're in the amniotic fluid in the mother's womb? That's why people love water. They call it soothe. They give them calm and assurance and
Yes,
security. So all these things matter in life. So the earlier you start to influence children positively, the better they stand a
better
chance
it
of being
is. Yes,
positive citizens. Right?
yes, yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Murray, and thank you, um, um, Lady Virtue, for joining us tonight. And we
Thank
want
you.
to, our viewers are asking, and I'm asking for you to come and to sing this song on the truck on Saturday. If your work permits, we can talk off air about it. Okay, but thank you so much for coming. As
I,
we
I,
on
I
Saturday,
definitely, I
repeat, ma'am.
definitely would talk. I definitely would talk to you about it. And but I just want to say one tiny thing before I go. I know I said that before. I also want to say as an entrepreneur that we have to be careful how we try to make our young people entrepreneurs who have not had experience in the workplace. Had I not had that experience with Mohammed Nassau and all the other places that I work, I would not have been able to do what I'm doing now. So we have to be very careful how we try to make entrepreneurs out of people who are not ready to be entrepreneurs, who need experience in the workplace.
Yes. Wow. That's a whole nother thing. We need to
Yes.
have you here some more. And you know, because you're more than a Calypsonian, you're more than an entrepreneur. You know, you have a lot to offer. And so we're gonna be in touch. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Lady
much for having
Virtue.
me.
And all the
Thank you.
best in the Calypso
Bye.
season. Thank you. It's
Thank
an
you. Bye-bye.
honor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Dave, let us play the chorus of the song, and then we're gonna.
And our schools have become a fashion for hair. So we continue to cry today. Oh, Barbados, cry Barbados. Morals and values keep slipping away on a highway to hell on Judgment Day. Barbados, my sweet Barbados. Lack of discipline and self-respect, the love of God we don't accept. Crime and violence, murder and guns, senseless killing of our sons. We living in danger, we cannot deny. That is why we cry. Barbados, we cry, 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 cry. Barbados, we cry. Barbados, we need to get back to God.
Yeah, I tell you, I can see myself doing a video to this song. At least to the chorus, I can see capture, so much and put in a video that we will keep on the show because I think it's a very conscious song, very conscious. If you love Barbados right now, you're going to cry. Mr. Franklin, it's good to see you, sir. Mr.
Yes,
Murray
thank
gave
you.
a fantastic session earlier. We're having a fantastic night. Tonight, we're asking people to like. Look, listen, guys, we need to like, we need to share. Let's get how many likes, Mr. Franklin? How many likes tonight we're to get?
We want 1,000.
1,000 likes. 1,000 likes, 1,000 likes. Well, Mr. Franklin, we are going to be marching this Saturday again because I put it in the chat and asked other people, and so we're going to march this Saturday, but no Independence Square because we can cut costs. And I put it in both those that work in our panel chat and then the chat with those who volunteered to work at the marches, and everybody agreed. It was unanimous. So we're going to march on Saturday from Redman's Drive is where we're going. We're marching from till Independence Square. We're saying no to cybercrime bill, the sections of it that infringes on our human rights and constitutional rights, and we're saying no to gun violence. We're adding that to it because things are getting dread in Barbados, and it seems like people are just deaf. They're not listening to us. They're not hearing the gunshots. They're too deaf to hear the gunshots. But so I just wanted to do a plug about that again, and it's 10 o'clock. Mr. Franklin, on Saturday. Well, over to you, sir. Over to you.
Marcia, I just wanted to add that, the people are hearing the gunshots. And, people might say I'm talking foolishness, but that's up to them. I talk foolishness a lot, so don't worry about it. You see, when a certain section of Barbados was shooting up all over the place, the government came and put in place a peace program. And they tell people, okay, we can give you money rather than you go there and get involved in crime. So the crime law shifted away from that area. They have the peace program and gone over there. So these new people are not auditioning for work. They want to get into the peace program too, where you will get free money for doing nothing. Government that a lot of people say that it's a beneficial thing. I think it is nonsense. You do not know who criminals are refuse to tell the police who they are, but instead gather them together and give them jobs and give them, I don't know if they call them jobs, give them money to stay away from crime. So the other people want to get involved in the peace program too, and they're going to commit crime, and they want somebody to come up there and they want to give them. If you know who the criminals are, go and tell the commissioner of police. Don't go and tell them, okay, we know who you are. Come again, this program. What madness! I thought that was utter rubbish, and you see, it's backfiring because now 4 people died in a week.
Yeah.
A gunshot. You. And the thing is, when the father fire off a weapon, there's just a thing called ricochet. There's a thing called bad aim. A fellow who can't shoot. And poor you walking down the road, you know nothing about what's going on, and you end up dead. So it is and people might say, oh, but it is not just only the people that they got involved in crime or whatever, and they get rid of one another. Innocent people have been shot. Innocent people died. So we don't want, if you have a problem, we have a court system. It is lousy, but it is what we have, and we've got to try to make it better. But head to court, head to the police. That's what the police are there for. If somebody hit me, I ain't fighting back with them against police because that's what their job. They're there to protect me. And we are not seeing that, and people are not encouraged to get to do that. People, you remember a day this youngster was in hospital. Apparently he was involved in some sort of shooting with some people, and he ended up in hospital for a while. And the day he came out of hospital, placed someone in Eagle Hall. Somebody tell the people in the hospital, look, he come out today. And when he got home, better open the car door and tell you, somebody come in the car and shoot you right there in the car. This madness has to stop.
Yes.
Government, and the thing is, but Lady Virtue talk about it, is the indiscipline in the society, and it is encouraged by government. It is encouraged by government because government does not do anything wholesome for the people,
Yes.
When the last time you saw them put on some sort of cultural work that wasn't jumping up, walking up, bombing, and all kind of nonsense stuff? Because they want that has an effect on your mind. Why don't they have Mozart? I remember when I was at school, Mr. Fletcher would take us to the library and force us to listen. My dad used to call it force us to listen to Brahms and everybody else, Mozart, Beethoven. And we were little boys, 12 years old, being 8 to 9 so. But I tell you, as a result of that, now I have an appreciation for that type of music.
Yes.
At the time, I didn't care anything about it. I didn't want to get out of there, I wanted to get out of there. It wasn't what we wanted, but nobody is coming for that. Nobody have debates where people would discuss certain issues. The only debates going on is in the rum shop when the fellow becomes an expert. The more drinks he put down, and the government isn't encouraging anything like that. The NCF is walk up, and that's it. And then except for walking up on NIFCA, they can shut down. They're not serving any useful purpose. They're not developing anything. But government likes the hysteria associated with the people of that. Like, one time, there was a season for it. Remember? You remember in Calypso and this jam revelry. This is a more Catholic tradition. That is where you see in Trinidad, Ash Wednesday, things done. You get all your demons. We don't get all our demons. No, we got them all going every day in, day out, all kind of stuff. And you will see people every week, every weekend. They have to have a fact. They have to have best to jump up. There's no calming period. There is no time for reflection. There's no church. There's nothing. It is just what you want to influence people's mind because that is you want this type of hysteria to run the place, and then you get in power and make more and provide
Yeah.
more for it. Why is there nothing educational? Why is there nothing uplifting? When I got now for people my age, maybe we could go and sit down to some, let's say, calming music. You know, it is unheard of now, where you can go to a show that for people over 50. But the people over 50 want to pretend that they're 16 and 18 too. That's the problem too. That's another problem we got, you know. But
Caswell, if I might
please.
join in here. Yeah. I think what you're really reflecting on, what we are all dealing with, is that the Prime Minister has adopted what is called populist policies, where you appeal, you make the bosses feel that you care to them, you're the only one who cares about them, and you do everything, and you're not seeking to uplift them. You're already engaged in a race to the bottom, and you are catering to the lowest common denominator. Step by step, you're doing it. That is why you have these mass events with so-called music and the work club, because it's not meant to be uplifting. You don't learn anything from it. You just outdoing each other, how vulgar, how rancid you can be, and unfortunately, that has become part. That in itself has become a subculture, or maybe a culture for mainstream people. So that is how they see life. This thing with the hairstyles is, if I understand, was told to give people a chance to express themselves. No, you're busy copying styles from North America. A lot of it is ghetto styles, ghetto behavior. You know, basically out of North America, especially, and I mean, even down to the drinks, the Hennessy, all that is part. That is part of the gangsterization of the Barbadian culture for the masses. And we're supposed to feel that is what is the benefit? What has it done? If we had 4 people in Savannah drop down dead in Broad Street, Swan Street, obviously people want to know, that'd be a crisis. That'd be almost a crisis. You have
Yeah.
4 people shot dead, murdered, and you take it in our stride. It's a crisis
It is.
that
It is.
cannot be taken. We should not take it in our stride as the norm.
Yeah. You know, we have Mr. Franklin. We have our friends are here from Guyana, and that's your favorite girl right there. Honorable Coretta McDonald is on with us tonight, and she has, I believe, is another MP on with her, and she's going to introduce. Oh my Lord, they're all official on us. Lord, they're changing.
You know, I just wanted to say to her, I have missed you. And I've been wondering what has become of you. You know, but the problems that we have in the Caribbean is that we don't get the news. We get news from Ukraine, we get news from India, we get news from North America, but we don't get news from just nice. So in order to find out, we're gonna have to definitely go and search for it. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see you.
Well, good night, and thank you, Marcia, for having us. I miss you too. And you know what? I just want to welcome my friend and colleague in Parliament, the Honorable Christopher Jones. He is just as feisty as I am, and he's joining us here tonight. We just came off of one program, and we're happy to be with you tonight. To my friends in Barbados, I love you, but Chris?
Yeah, good evening, Barbados. Been watching and listening to the conversation earlier. We hope that we could contribute and have some impact as well.
Yes, well, we are very, very happy that you have joined us here tonight, because we have been talking a lot about Guyana over the past, I would say, probably 2 weeks now, Mr. Franklin and Mr. Murray. Now, what we've been talking about is a cybercrime bill, because we saw that someone who holds an executive position in one of the opposition parties was arrested, And so we had Rickford Burke was on the program. We had Nigel London on the program, and so we've been talking about Guyana. We were on a program last night in Bahamas with some it's a news program, and Dr. Ferdy and I were telling them about Guyana, and they were like, "What? What happened? I mean, so we've been talking about Guyana, to everybody." But you're here for a different reason tonight, because there's some issues there with corruption in Guyana. Like we're surprised. It's all over the Caribbean, isn't it? So tell us what's going on there in Guyana, Honorable McDonald.
Well, Marcy, birds of a feather flock together. We're on a different platform, but I'm talking about the birds that fly outside of our nest, and they fly around and they try to throw us off from our nest. It's all over. And what is sad is that sometimes our political leaders are part and parcel of the whole corruption. And so today you saw the big newscast, they're coming with the US putting sanctions on some persons for corruption. Yeah. And in the midst of that is a permanent secretary. And, it leaves one to wonder if an officer at that level is involved. Then you can imagine the amount of corruption that is happening and the amount of other links that we're having. We've seen that there. We've seen corruption in the contracts that are being issued. We've seen corruption with medical stuff coming in, medications and so on coming into this country. We're seeing it with the printing of exercise books and textbooks. We're seeing all over Guyana is corruption and more corruption and more corruption. And we have a saying that we would say, anywhere where the PPP is, you're bound to have corruption because they are a corrupt regime and they don't see anything wrong with it. It's okay. Their senior officials are getting involved, and that's just a brush under the side. I think I did mention a couple of months ago to you that we had a big scandal at with the auditing of the I think it was Exxon's fund, Chris, the $211 million US that was supposed to be paid over in taxes. That was off by an ordinary public servant. And what happened? The government just put a little tap on his wrist, 15 days suspension.
Yes, I remember you were talking about that. I remember you talking about that.
And so when you see, and those monies, let me say to you, Marcia, and my other colleagues there, those monies could have been placed into the treasury to pay the teachers who are on strike for 65 days. But I'll allow my colleague Chris to share somewhat because, of course, I'm Bajan by now, so I'm now bringing.
But let me ask you, Chris. You're a member of parliament as well.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, and so when you hear something like this coming from the US and it's plastered over all of the news agencies and etc., how do you feel as a politician, a Guyanese politician?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. Indeed, essentially, you feel very disappointed. The fact that it is Guyana being publicized across the world, across the Caribbean, but not for anything positive, but actually something negative. Mm-hmm. Having been in the Parliament of Guyana, this is my second stint, is that unfortunately, when it comes to the People's Progressive Party Civic and their governance of Guyana, it is always rooted in corruption. I can take you and your viewers all the way back to when the People's Progressive Party Civic served in government for 23 years, from 1992 to 2015. And Guyana at that time was blacklisted for multiple reasons. You had a period in Guyana when there was an operation of a phantom death squad in Guyana that is responsible for the death of over 1,400 Guyanese, predominantly Afro-Guyanese. And then you saw somewhat of a pause during the 2015-2020 period when there was a change in government, the APNU AFC government led by David Granger. Guyanese, both in Guyana and in the diaspora, would say to you that during 2015, 2020, Guyana became somewhere where you felt safe, you felt comfortable. We were removed from the blacklist. Corruption was tampered, but was tempered down, and so forth. And literally in 2020, after that elections, the People's Progressive Party civic in government, within the first 3 months of the PPP being in government, you had the interception of the largest drug bust that emanated from Guyana. And then shortly after that, the execution style killing start back. And then, of course, corruption in contract. It is almost like the acronym of the PPP is PPPC. So currently in Guyana, they're dubbed the People's Progressive Party corruption because it is rampant. We've seen recently an individual who has never been a contractor, has never built anything in his life, was given a contract for over 800 million Guyana dollars to construct something that he has no experience in doing. Neither does he have equipment and so forth. And this takes you to what's supposed to be our tender board or tendering administration, in which contract and persons bidding for contracts, there is a review process. And of course, once your company has the experience, you are awarded contracts. We've seen the complete bypass of this, and you see contracts being awarded to friends of the People's Progressive Party civic government officials. You see family members and so forth being awarded these contracts. So now that we've seen yesterday, the US Treasury Department issuing sanctions on a family, and of course a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Labor, it begs the question, as my colleague Coretta rightly said, could a permanent secretary have the authority to grant license, contract, and so forth to anyone? And the answer is no. Is that those permanent secretaries are being guided by a government minister. And it is important that we note in the US Treasury Department's report or statement, they refer to government officials. So the one permanent secretary that have been sanctioned, she is just one based on their report of many to come.
Wow.
Of senior government officials.
What are you saying? Oh my goodness. This is something else. I'm listening, Mr. Franklin, to what they are saying, and they said corruption in contracts. Is that the term that the MP used? Correct. And I am thinking, I've heard so many of those kinds of stories here in Barbados. I was speaking to a businessman this morning, and he said to me, right here in Barbados, he said, I would rather not to get that contract. He said to me, Honorable McDonald, because what is told to him is that, listen, I will get the contract for you. Make sure you get it, but you give me a cut.
Yeah.
And he said, I would rather not get that contract. Let me give you something if I want to, but don't negotiate it with a percentage already in there for you. And that is what is even happening in Barbados. Mr. Franklin, you have any brief comment there before we go back?
Yeah, it sounds like the $7,500 that we were talking about. I understand there were 4 of those, but that's happened. You see, permanent secretaries don't do these things by themselves, and under the system of governance that we have, a permanent secretary is supposed to tell the minister, sorry, minister, but you can't do that. That has gone. That's like the dodo bird now. Doesn't exist anymore. You put your friends in making permanent secretaries, and then they do your bidding. And what ours here in Barbados is like, where the prime minister decides who's a permanent secretary. Even though our constitution says otherwise, the prime minister is the person who decides who's going to be head of department, who's going to be head of a secondary school, who's going to be a permanent secretary or deputy permanent secretary. So that is where the problem comes, because the minister himself can't sign.
Right.
But because the permanent secretary is the accounting officer. And what they're doing here in Barbados, and I don't know what will happen in Guyana, because we are lockstep. We follow each other. When one side of corruption happens in Barbados, the same thing happens in Guyana and vice versa.
Right.
But what they're doing now is to make certain high-profile public officers permanent. I like to call them temporary permanent secretaries, because what we're having now, it sounds stupid, but that's what we have. So you have a 3-year contract, and how dare you tell the minister no, because you wouldn't get another one. So your job is coming up for renewal, and you can tell the minister, that is wrong. The minister don't want you that. The minister want things signed. So yeah. When I hear the Honorable Christopher Jones speaking, I'm see talking about Barbados. You can don't, if you don't mention Guyana and just speak, people think you're talking about Barbados.
Yeah.
That is how bad it is.
Wow.
Yeah, but thank you, Council. Honorable McDonald. What can you? I'm at a loss when I looked at the pictures of the persons. They seem like young, bright people, and I'm at a loss. It just didn't. Dave and I were looking at the pictures of the people. It just did not add up. What is it? What's the sentiment in Guyana right now about what they're hearing and seeing in the press? What's happening on the ground in Guyana, Honorable McDonald?
Well, let me tell you what. Persons are suffering. That's one. 2, many persons are scared to speak out because they fear victimization. Many of them are threatened.
Barbados.
Because they are public servants, you don't find many of them committing. As a matter of fact, they can't even use, in some ministries, they can't even use their phones. They have officers or staff employed just to monitor staff's Facebook pages. So they can't go on Coretta McDonald's Facebook page and even put a like, because they're going to be victimized. And so because of that, you find persons prefer to stay in their little groups and speak. They wouldn't come on the media. They wouldn't write letters in the newspapers because of fear of victimization, and they have to live. But the talk around right now is they would have had enough of the PPP. It's time for them to go. Too many corruptions, too many murders. We built a bridge, cost a whole lot of millions, and a little bit of rain fell, and that bridge was washed away. And nobody is being held accountable for that. We have a school that has been there since 2020. The school started building with HJ, a company that is a friend of the PPP. They started the construction of this school. This is 2024, and that school cannot yet be completed. They're not even halfway yet, and they're asking for more monies to complete that school building. They've asked for extension upon extension, and they're not being sanctioned. We have a police station where the contract award was $80 million. Somebody won that contract. Now the contractor is asking for $90 million more to complete that police station. And so you're wondering, well, is what happened? The original contract was $80 million. You bid there, you won the bid. Now you're asking for $90 million more to complete.
Honorable McDonald, we are laughing. Honorable McDonald, we're laughing. It's not that what you're saying. It's funny. This is almost exact. Am I not saying the truth, Mr. Murray? This is what we had a situation here where they said that it was a contract, and what's the term? I forgot. They went over budget. It went over budget by more. I think it was almost more than the budget itself. So it's very, very, very similar. Very, very similar.
Yeah, that is why I was laughing, because they were saying Don't say Guyana, just speak, and people will think you're talking about Barbados.
Marcy, remember I started off by saying birds of a feather flock together. So that's what we're having, the birds flocking and they're sharing their ideas. Like I said earlier, we have the teachers who are on strike for 65 days. You know who's suffering? The poor people, children suffering. The ministers, their children are not suffering because their children are either in private schools or they're at some of the so-called elite schools, and their children are at school every day. But the masses, their children are not, they have not been attending school for 65 days. And the government is not finding any way possible to pay the teachers or to sit at the table with the teachers union to talk to them about resolving this issue, even though the government was provided with copies of the proposals since 2020. We have in Guyana, we have now been returned to an apartheid state where the rich, there's a part of the country or one Guyana for the elite. You have a second Guyana for the Venezuelans, and then you have the third Guyana for the masses of bona fide Guyanese. That's what we have in our country, where persons who are non-nationals come here and are given more rights than the Guyanese people. That's what we have in here. And then you see them being given all sorts of concessions, all sorts of contracts they're being given. And Guyanese people here are starving. Mind you, in Guyana, we have been dubbed as the new Dubai of the Caribbean. But you know what the World Bank is saying? Poverty is rising in Guyana. So I don't know how this maths in. And then we got a vice president who every Thursday, he got abused in parade every Thursday. So he would cuss from left to right to center, so all over. As long as you are not in the same car with him, you're getting a cuss out. Well, of course, you know, I'm his favorite girl, so I get that almost every week. But the thing is, every time you have to speak out about the wrongdoings of this government, and I think it's the same thing happening in Barbados, they ostracize you. And so teachers are coming in for that kind of marginalization and discrimination because most of our teachers are Afro-Guyanese. And for those teachers who are non-Afro-Guyanese, they too are suffering the fate because, of course, this government in their minds, they have perceived that Afro-Guyanese are not their voting bloc, so they don't look after you. If you travel this country, you would see it. In Afro-Guyanese villages, you have concrete strips being built as roads. But in their support villages, you are seeing pitched road, asphalted road being built in those communities. And this is what we have. You see in Afro-Guyanese villages, their lands are being taken away from them. While in other areas, those who we call squatters, their lands it is being regularized. And you see other Indo-Guyanese being given massive land, but Afro-Guyanese are being marginalized all the time. Chris was telling you about the murders and so on, Chris?
Yeah. No, I'm actually waiting for most of the responses before I come in with that, because I'm actually reading some of the comments that we're seeing below, and it's a clear case that what is happening in Barbados is happening in Guyana. I even see one of the persons commented and say, no wonder the Prime Minister of Barbados referred to Guyana's president as her brother.
As her brother.
And we too take note of that. She refers to Irfan Ali as her little brother and as Barrett Jagdeo as her big brother. So perhaps
Wow.
the three exchange notes as to how they are good at shielding corruption or allowing corruption to be rampant and so forth in the country. It is a most saddening situation in Guyana, because picture Guyana 15, 20 years ago, when our basic economic drive would have been rice, sugar, bauxite, gold, timber, etc., which is still significant. But at the time, of course, our GDP was not of that amount or that number that
It
could
wasn't
have.
that high.
It wasn't that high. So just recently, Guyana has now become an oil-producing country. This year, Guyana produced a budget of over $1 trillion. It was the talk of the Caribbean that Guyana's budget is the highest ever. Here it is now that you have public servants, and specifically the teachers who are, as of today, are on strike for 65 days. You had the now current government, while in opposition, in parliament, the sitting president, Irfan Ali, in parliament, screaming and shouting at the then AP and UAFC government that you must pay the teachers and pay them no less than 50%. You had Vice President Barra Jaglio as opposition leader, echoing those sentiments in the parliament. Shortly thereafter, the PPP became government and inherited an oil economy. And we've now seen that money flow, produced a budget in 2024 over $1 trillion, and are now refusing to negotiate with the Ghana Teachers Union. Coretta made the point. When you talk, Irfan Ali likes to speak about one Guyana and this whole thing with one united Guyana. It is absolutely the opposite on the ground in this country. I said earlier on a program that we were on that the PPP is essentially a PR government. They can get on the media platform, they can go abroad, and the president will make all of these glowing statements. You would swear to God that Guyana is the new paradise, that everyone should want to come to Guyana. But you go on the ground in this country and you speak to the average Guyanese, and it is the complete opposite that is happening in this country. It is one of the most sad situations we got. Coretta made the point about teachers being on strike and students out of school for 65 days. It is not affecting the ministers of government because all of their children are in private schools. It's not affecting the permanent secretaries because they too, their children are in private schools. But it's the average Guyanese, and I made the point to them now that you have 3/4 of the population's children who are out of school. They're not being given an education for over 65 days. While you have the elites whose children are in private school and attending school all of this period.
Yeah.
A few years from now, they become the doctors, the lawyers, or whatever the case be. And you have the other set who are deprived of an education. They will be the ones who will, unfortunately, I pray that it doesn't happen, becomes the one who will be slinging the guns and the knives, and they will go to the same ones who are the doctors and they will rob them. That's the society that you're building.
Yes.
So when they believe that you are just affecting these people because they're not your support base or whatever the case be, at the end of the day, the entire country is going to suffer as a result of that.
Yes, yes. Wow. Thank you so much, Honorable Christopher Jones. I see Mr. Glenn Murray here, and yes, he wants to.
Yeah,
go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Yes, I too appreciate the parallels that exist between what's happening in Guyana and Barbados. But I want to know what recourse you have, what institutions are there to protect? Are the courts also compromised? What are the leverages that you have to defend your rights and try to exert some pressure on the government to change their ways?
Good question, Mr. Murray. Thank you.
Right, well, I will actually ask Coretta to come in with that one, because recently, to seek redress, the Guyana Teachers Union had to take the matter to court. And of course, we had a ruling by that judge, but I'll allow Coretta to come out with that, and then I'll take it from there.
Well, I know that Chris did not indicate that he's our chief whip in the parliament. And so he will talk about that aspect. And that's the place where we make all the laws. He will talk about what happens there. But let me tell you about what happens in our courts. Many times in our courts, when you seek redress, it's either justice delayed and sometimes justice denied. But we have some judges and we have some magistrates who sit there now and they go by the law. They interpret the law and they hand down their judgments because of what is right in the law. Well, don't let me tell you about the cuss out that they would get from the vice president, the attorney general, and all of them in the PPP. Recently, the Guyana Teachers Union had to move to the courts because the Ministry of Education, and by extension, the government, they stopped the deductions of the teachers' dues, which they would normally deduct and remit to the union. They stopped that completely. They said to us that our strike was illegal, even though we followed every procedure They said our strike was illegal, and they threatened to cut the teachers' pay. So we moved to the court. The judge then handed down his judgment, where he said, one, in his preamble, he said, the teachers cried and raised their voices and begged you for bread. And what did you do? You gave them stones. You were the ones who facilitated the strike because they were there since 2020, knocking on your doors, and you refused to engage them. So you facilitated the strike. And for that reason, and he cited a whole lot of cases all across the world. And he said, for that reason, you cannot cut their salaries. He also said that what you have been doing in terms of deducting the dues, it was an arrangement that you had that was working professionally. And you shouldn't now, because you have a fallout on one aspect, that you decide to stop the deduction of the dues. He said, what you are doing there is doing two things. One, you are spiting the union. You are spiting the union by stopping the deductions. Two, you want to break the back of the union because you know fully well that the union is a non-governmental organization, and the dues is what they depend on to carry through their programs and to continue the life of the union. And so you are doing two things, and that is, well, he didn't say it in these words, that is wickedness, but he said in his own words that this was being vindictive and you were wicked and it's unjust according to law. And so we got the judgment. You know what this government did? This government went through their attorney general and they have now appealed that case. Even though there was more than a 5 weeks period that passed before they were handed the written judgment, the government refused to reinstate the dues. And so they are saying that the teachers will pay because they're going to cut, they will ensure that they deduct all of those monies that they've been out of schools for. Wow. And they have appealed that case. So we are awaiting the outcome of that. But I'm saying all of that to say that in this country, if you are not part of the 3 F's, family, friends, or favorites, you suffer. Even when you are a supporter of the PPP, as long as you are not in the 3 F's, you suffer. And that's what everybody across this country feel. So sometimes you decide, look, I ain't got the time to run to the courts, because the other part in the courts, the delayed part, is the case pops up today and then it takes another long time to come up. And then it come up today and it put off or not. So people ain't got time to run to the courts now. And as a matter of fact, some persons have now decided, look, I can take matters into my own hand. So persons are giving vent to their feelings in other ways. But the courts generally, what we expect to come from them, it's not happening. Because I have a parliamentary colleague who took the vice president to court for defamation of character. The court granted her a judgment. And you know what the vice president did? He has appealed that case. When he went there, he lost that appeal. And he has now gone to the CCJ. So the court system, while you expect it to work for you, you don't get the kind of satisfaction you want. And so the gap continues, where the rich will continue to get rich and the poor will continue to be poor and poorer. That's what we have here in Guyana.
Wow.
But we have, I am sitting down, I'm hearing this thing, and I can't believe it, because they're comparing notes, When my union strike with the nurses, remember the government went into the tell the banks take out that money from the people's account. They actually went into person's account and take out the money. This is what this government did in 2021. Yeah. So it is nothing new. You're worried about judges. We just recently had a new chief justice appointed in Barbados. Almost a year before his appointment, when he was a lawyer in private practice, his staff contacted me to calculate their severance pay, because he told them he's going to be the next chief justice. And then they had interviews, and surprisingly, he got the job. Because and thing is, he grew up in the chambers of Elliot Mottley, Prime Minister's father. He claimed that they're like family, you know, and that's what's happening. So Guyana, Barbados, Guyana is the same thing.
It's the same. It's the same. It's the same playbook.
It's half dozen. You know, it is amazing. I think they compare notes.
Yeah. Have to. Let me see, Honorable Christopher Jones. I know I told you all in 20 minutes, but you know when we come on here.
No, Marcia, this 20 minutes thing don't work, you know. Do you let the people talk? I'm gonna be here.
I know, but Kimar is on, and I know Kimar has something to say to us. So let's go another 5 minutes or so. So Honorable Christopher Jones, Mr. Murray asked a very important question. What is the recourse? And you know, Honorable McDonald talked about the courts and the delayed justice and all of these different things. What would you say would be another form of recourse that you have at your disposal?
Bill, that would be the Parliament of Guyana, and Coretta outlined what is the situation in the court system. The Parliament of Guyana is worse. It is worse. The simplest thing, my MP submits questions to ministers of the government. We submit motions to the Parliament. Is either those questions never see the light of day, or the answer, the responses that you would get from the minister leave much to be desired. I'll give you an example. The standing order of our Parliament dictates that questions and motions that are submitted by MPs, within 19 to 21 days, they will make it onto the order paper, providing that it gets past the clerk of the assembly and, of course, the speaker. On the 6th of June, 2024, this year, marks 1 year since one of my MPs made a submission to the Parliament of Guyana, and his motion and question to this day have never seen the light of day. And in a couple of weeks, there are several other questions and motions that will reach 1 year that they have never seen the light of day in the Parliament. The standing orders allows you as an MP to stand on a matter of urgent public importance. We've had the leader of the opposition, the Honorable Aubrey C. Norton, stood up in the Parliament on a matter of urgent public importance. And this was to address flooding, severe flooding, various parts of the country that affected farmers. The Speaker of the National Assembly ruled then and there that the matter that the leader of the opposition wants to bring to the floor, it is not urgent and it's not of public importance. This is a flooding situation in Guyana that is affecting farmers as we on that particular day. We view the Speaker of the National Assembly in Guyana and several other officials of the country, but particularly the Speaker of the National Assembly of Guyana, as a gatekeeper for the People's Progressive Party Civic. His role is to ensure that damning questions that will expose corruption in the People's Progressive Party Civic government, that those questions never see the light of day. We've had MPs made their submission, and some of the most frivolous reasons their questions are not allowed. Oh, the date was wrong. Oh, you forget a punctuate, some foolishness of that sort. And that's why I can tell you, and Marcy, I will share with Coretta before the conclusion of the program, several questions and motions that have been submitted. I'll give you the names of the MPs, the month that the question was submitted, and the year. So perhaps you can then share on your platform to confirm what I'm saying to your listeners and your viewers out there and so forth. So that is a situation. We've had petitions that have been sent to the Parliament. Under this particular speaker, not one petition has ever been read. And essentially, a petition is simply, as an MP, you read a situation that is affecting your constituency or your constituents, and you simply read it out and just call on the Parliament to make note of this and so forth. And it is not a motion, it is not an amendment to the law or anything of that such. Not even that was allowed. The last petition that went to the National Assembly of Guyana came from no less of a person than the Deputy Speaker of Guyana's Parliament. And that petition was not allowed, was not entertained. And the court system, we have that issue. The police force, we have that issue. The Parliament of Guyana, we have that issue. And that's why we keep saying to people that when you explore all of these avenues, that you should seek redress. When you've exhausted those avenues, and the only forum that you have next is street protests, then that is another situation. Coretta spoke about what happens in ministries and government agencies, that there are persons in there who monitor who you interact with. The People's Progressive Party Civic Government has an entire unit that is set up that monitors every Facebook activity of the parliamentary opposition and other key persons, former ministers of government, and monitors as far as people who are commenting on it. If, for example, on your program here in Barbados, if there is a Guyanese, whether in Guyana viewing this program or in Barbados, and he or she comments something negative about the People's Progressive Party Civic, I bet you by the end of this week, those persons will report to you that somebody from the government made contact with me and said that they saw, and they scream grab it, and they saw me made a comment, negative comment about the government and so on. And if you continue like this, if you have a contract, you can lose it. If your cousin, nephew, niece, uncle has a contract with the PPP and you happen to comment negative about them, that cousin, uncle, nephew, niece could lose his contract or her contract. That is the extent when you speak about, and it is not just discrimination. And I want to put this out there because I don't like to sugarcoat anything. It is blatant racial discrimination that occurs in Guyana. This PPP government set out to deprive Guyanese of Afro descent of economic well-being in this country. When you look at the contract, and as I mentioned before, the PPP is a PR government. When you speak about the awarding of contract and the blatant racial discrimination that happens with the awarding of those contracts, the PPP will say to you that, look, we have here on paper, you have 400 Guyanese of African descent who has contracts. But then if you tabulate the amount that those 400 contracts amount to, it may amount to 1 billion Guyana dollars. And then if you see the other lists with perhaps 3 or 4 contractors of East Indian descent, and you tabulate the amount of monies for those 3 or 4 contracts, it amounts to over about $400 billion. That is the difference. So they like to give you numbers. 400 Afro-Guyanese has contract, 400. Tabulate it and you see the amount. And as a result of that, you have villages and communities across the country, as Coretta mentioned before. Economically, you go into a pro-Afro-Guyanese village and you will see the vast difference that is there. You would see a normal house, nothing big and significant. You will see poor roads, poor drainage and irrigation, no playing facility, no lights, and so forth. And not a distance away, you don't have to go 50 miles away. The village right next door to that village that happens to be an Afro village, you go right next door and there's a pro-East Indian village. Spanking new roads with demarcations, drainage and irrigation, street lights. The children have access to well-playing field. There is a health center in there. You understand me? It is that blatant. Just recently, the PPP brought to Guyana Congressman Reverend Jesse Jackson's son.
Yes.
Brought him to Guyana for what they dub show and tell, to dispel this, as they dub it, rumors about discrimination and so forth. And they took him to the village of Moka on the east bank of Demerara. This is the very village that the People's Progressive Party Civic, when they're doing the construction of the 4-lane road, they sought to remove these Guyanese of African descent from their homes. they claim that of 30 families, 25 of the families accepted the removal and moved to new location, and 5 families did not. What they did not say is that these 5 families who have been living on this plot of land for over 40 something years, their economic base is poultry. So you have farmers, they have cattle, they have fowls, they have ducks, pigs, sheep, you name it. So the issue that they had is that the persons were being removed from this location to a residential area. And obviously, as a farmer, you want to know where would you be able to put your cattle in a residential area. And therefore, the request that they were making to the government is that they need substantive lands that their animals will be able to cut. That is their economic base. The People's Progressive Party Civic went into that community with bulldozers and police with heavily armed weapons, and they sought to bulldoze the houses. The animals were killed, were crushed, and they were buried with the said bulldozers. One young man who barely reached there just before they got to his pigs managed to gather what will remain up of the piglets. The very next day, that young man had to sell all of his pigs and piglets for less than the value, just so that he don't lose them. And I don't want to say it was by design. It just so happened that the individual who came and purchased all of his piglets happens to be a Guyanese of East Indian descent from another village, from another region, rather. I'm not saying that was by design, but I'm telling you that happened. So this young man, who at one time was a farmer, a thriving farm, being able to sustain his family, to feed his family, to pay his bills, he no longer does that. When the congressman was in Mocha, the same young man spoke to the congressman, and he explained to him just what I just said. Now the young man is looking for a job because he has no means to sustain his family. And then this is something that happens in every area where there are Afro-Guyanese that are squatting. Just after Mocha, the PPP went to a village called Success. They did the exact same thing. The PPP is now building the new Demerara Harbor Bridge. Right where the bridge is going to land, it's in an established community. The PPP sought to identify, and the lady brought the evidence to the congressman. They identify an East Indian man who's living in the community just like she is. He is given 50-something million Guyana dollars as compensation, and he can move. But the lady, for her property, right next door to the man, which is a much more substantive structure, is being offered $20 million. And when the one brought the evidence, said, like, look, you give, I can't remember the individual name, but look, you give Babu $50 million for his property, either right next door, look, and that is what's happening. And to the extent that a government minister went into that community and literally threatened the woman. This is a senior Guyanese woman. The woman said, this is bullyism. Good luck for the woman at the time. Her daughter recorded everything because the PPP minister would have said it never happened. But when they loosed that footage on social media, you saw early in the morning, here's a minister with police escort and staff members, a whole party of 20 persons turning up at a senior citizen home at 7 a.m. in the morning and saying, look, you have to sign for this letter, you have to move. Bullyism. And then in communities where there are East Indian Guyanese that are squatting, you know what this so-called caring People's Progressive Party civic government does? They regularize the squatting areas. So no longer those people are squatters. They now receive title for the lands that they've been squatting on. But in community where the Afro-Guyanese, the bulldozers, the Guyana police force, and the long rifles, that is what comes to them.
Wow. So someone as Teroni is saying here, and I see Kimar is on. Tironi saying that is why they want to silence the people, so you can't know the evil that they are doing.
Exactly.
Because with this cybercrime bill, you have one in Guyana, and they are now looking. In fact, they said, "Oh, look at what's happening in Guyana. They have a cybercrime bill as well." So they're trying now to get ours to be a law. To be a law here in Barbados, and that is going through the process. But Kimar, I know you didn't come on here to talk about this. Let's give them a 5 more minutes, Kimar. But I want you to jump in there, Kimar. Any thoughts?
Marcel, I'm willing to give my time. I wanted to give my time over to the guests, so you don't have to, worry per se. I'm willing to
But
let them have.
let them speak. Okay, thank you so much. Although I still wanted to hear what you wanted to share about tonight, actually. But Kimar, I want
Yeah, but
your thoughts.
yeah, but
Yeah.
no. I was saying, let the guests have the time. I could come on any other time. We're always here.
Yeah.
So that's no problem. But just will say good night to the guests. I know I've met the Honorable Miss McDonald before, but I never met the other gentleman.
Honorable
So good night to him. Good night to Mr. Jones. Good night to you, Marcia. You did very well on the Bahamas, Pastor Ferdinand, and also on PDTV.
Thank you. I haven't seen the Bahamas one as yet.
Yes. So you did very well. So congrats to you. Good night to Caswell. Good night to Mr. Murray. And good night to all of the members of the loyal opposition who are on tonight. So over to you now.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But I wanted you to. I know you are listening intently, and I'm happy and grateful to you and Caswell for giving the time to our Guyanese counterparts to speak, because truly, I'm listening intently, very intently. I'm listening not just to what you're both saying, what they're saying, Mr. Franklin, but I'm listening to their hearts as well. And every time they come on, or Nigel London comes on, Kimar, or Rickford Burke comes on, I'm saying, here we are, we're here in the Caribbean, and there is a Caribbean country where Black people are being treated. Yes, we're treated terribly here, but theirs is so blatant, the kind of racism that they are enduring, Kimar, there in Guyana. I'm saying, what will history say about us? We're hearing their stories, but are we really hearing it? Kimar, what are your thoughts about what you've heard tonight?
Well, it's one thing to have racial wars among a population, but it's another thing when the racial wars actually permeate your politics now. And you have racially motivated leaders using these state resources of the state to persecute citizens. That's a very dangerous precedent to set. And I know Guyana is a very wealthy land, and the way resources are allocated in Guyana, if you bring it down to the basis of race, that means you subscribe basically to the sufferation of other groups, right? And I don't know how come the racial wars are so tense in Guyana and Trinidad, and not other parts of the Caribbean, but that is a phenomenon that I never quite understood as to why the racial tensions in Guyana got so far. But what I heard tonight is very, not surprising, but still shocking to the point that the government is going so far to be openly racist to people of black skin. And the thing is, they have people of other races within some of these political parties. So imagine the treatment if this is the behavior, right? But I would say that I can't necessarily prescribe a solution because I haven't lived it. So I can't say I know how they feel because I never felt that. Right? So I could try to understand and show love and show support and show camaraderie for the hurt that is being caused to the Guyanese people, particularly Black Guyanese people, and to celebrate persons like Ms. McDonald and Mr. Jones for standing up against it. And history will be kind to them because if they don't stand up, the population who feels bullied, the population who's under the threat of the Guyana cybercrime bill, right? And I remember growing up, there was this thing about politicians using the hit squads to murder some of the population, and state resources were deployed to help exterminate parts of the Guyanese population. There were reports on that. So it would be a very sad day to have to go back to those days in the Caribbean. But that's one last point. I was very interested to know how come the large governments, like particularly like the US, that has interest in Guyana, how come they don't intervene into politics on this angle and to try to bring world peace and united peace to how they say the United Nations and the World Peace Program. But I saw that particularly Guyanese national was sanctioned and put on a blacklist or so or the other. So these things confuse me, but I will let our guests have the floor. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Kimar, for your contribution there. And I see as a young man, you're just like baffled by why is this happening? But just a little comic relief in there because this is so heavy. Sometimes Honorable McDonald and Jones, we put a little joke in there. Somebody asking about our black belly sheep because they're black too. So somebody said. That is the big thing over here. That we're asking, where are our black belly sheep that went to Guyana and we don't know anything whether they're dead or alive, and somebody's saying Black Lives Matter. So we want to hear about our black belly sheep. Can you tell us just before we continue the seriousness? Well, this is serious too, but do you know anything about these black belly sheep that Honorable McDonald, you can help us here find the black belly sheep. We let equality, equal rights and justice for the black belly sheep.
Well, Marcy, just like you, we're asking the same question. As a matter of fact, we asked that question in Parliament. How many black belly sheep came? And who were these distributed to? Could you give us a listing? And we were promised, yes, we got them. And another set is supposed to be coming, and persons all across this country received. And we're touching base with farmers all across this country. And some persons have never seen them. They say, well, we heard about them, or some PPP operative got some, but nobody else received the black belly sheep. And of course, the black belly sheep was in return for a favor that was granted by us. We either gave, I know we were supposed to be giving a whole host of land to some Bajans who were coming here to farm. Now, you see what these politicians do. They try to create confusion between the ordinary men and women in Guyana and in Barbados. So they're bringing Bajans here and giving them farmlands, while Guyanese here are applying for those same farmlands and they're not getting them. I noticed one of our viewers saying they're bringing in Chinese into your island. Well, we got loads and loads of Chinese here. In one street, we probably got 6 or 7 Chinese supermarkets who are giving competition to the local people here, because Chinese, they sell from soap to rope, every single thing. So the ordinary man who got another grocery store close by they can't make any profit. And this is creating some confusion with our folks here, because the Chinese, they don't only come here and establish supermarkets, but they're employing very, very little Guyanese, and they are working them to the T. And the government doesn't have a difficulty with that. And so it's not only the government that is perpetuating racism and treating Black people bad and ordinary Guyanese bad. The Chinese are coming here and are being allowed to do the same thing. As a matter of fact, lots of the contracts here are Chinese are employed to construct roads, to do this, and then they're subcontracting that to other Guyanese. And I can tell you, it is crazy here. But we are seeing the relationship, Barbados, Guyana, and somewhat St. Vincent. The circle just keep going around. The way ordinary citizens in those countries are being treated, those territories are being treated, as against the way our politicians operate, the lives our politicians live, the way they can just go and sprawl off. Just the other day we had, and we still have cricket here in Guyana, and you check the stands and you will see in the stadium how many citizens can afford to go to the cricket. We've got stadiums, we have stadiums here, we are building stadiums even where stadiums are not needed, but you know what? We have to facilitate our supporters. We have hospitals in some communities, and we build in another hospital in the very community because we have to facilitate our supporters. And so that's the way things are happening in Guyana. And it's not going to end until we vote them out. That's the only way it's going to end. But mind you, when we vote them out, all the debts, imagine we have a budget of $1.146 trillion and we still borrowing monies. So you can understand when a new administration come in there via elections, they are now going to have to repay all of those debts that the PPP government would have incurred. And you know what is happening? Everybody around here is getting the sense that they've recognized that they're not going to be forming government at the next election. So they're doing the spending left, right, and center, all kinds of things they're doing. We're having issues with Venezuela, and our government is opening the windows and the doors and everywhere and allowing Venezuelans to just come. And you know why they're doing that? And let me say to you, they're given all sorts of privileges too. And these are people who their government is threatening us to take away 3/4 of Guyana, but yet our government is opening the doors to them. We had the accord signed in St. Vincent, no, Antigua. The accord signed there. We had PM Mottley, we had Ralphie. De Silva, Lula de Silva refused to come from Brazil. I think I can't remember if Rauli was there, but the two major players, Ralph Gonzalez and Prime Minister Mottley. Remember, I spoke about them earlier, a couple of months ago. Yes. I spoke about them, and I was very, very serious with what I said about them. The two players again, and yet we saw Ralph Gonzalez posing there to collect a plaque from Venezuela with a part of Guyana in the map there. And he has no objection to that. The same part, that Guyana, that Venezuela is saying belong to them, is on a plaque that they're giving to Ralph Gonzalez. And you know, when we objected to that, you know what he said? Oh, he didn't see it. He didn't see it, but he did not correct it. And so these people are just there setting out to sell their people out so that they can get rich and they can move to some other territory and live. But you know what? I know that the US is putting sanctions on some of them, and we can hear how many more will be sanctioned by the US government. I know that the UN, they are now being opened up, and they're hearing for themselves from the grassroots people what is happening in Guyana, and they're taking note of it and they're acting on it, because we are seeing some changes here and there, and that the government is being placed on the back foot. But we got to have more pressure coming from elsewhere. But like everything else, Prime Minister and President meet, big brother, little brother, friend, uncle, somebody, and they're all ganging up and setting out how they are going to continue to punish citizens in their own territories.
Yeah, but you know, Honorable MacDonald, I'm sitting here and I'm wondering if Barbadians are realizing the kind of government that their prime minister is basically, you know, in bed with. You know, listen, all Nigel London comes in here and says the same thing. Rickford Burke comes in here and says the same thing. These two MPs are on here and saying the same thing. I hear from people in Guyana who message me all the time on my phone. In fact, also the Indian Guyanese who call me names, call me all kinds of awful names up to this week. Because once I do a show in Guyana, they find me and they are very, very nasty in their comments, speaking to me about my race, things I cannot change about myself. And I think about it, Mr. Franklin, what if I lived there? What if I were to live in Guyana? I spoke to my husband about it up to this week. I had to block them from off of my phone. And I'm saying this is what Guyana is enduring, Kimar. And to think that our prime minister that have her here natural, talking about Africa, talking about being a Pan-Africanist and about all these things about Africa, and that is the kind of government that she is in bed with and not correcting that kind of behavior. Kimar, let me hear your thoughts about that. You haven't been on a long time. Let me hear your thoughts. Not there? Okay, not hearing him. Does anybody know Ganesh Mahipal?
Ganesh, he joined in.
Who is that?
If it's a Ganesh Mahipal, that would be one of our MPs.
Oh, one of your MPs. Okay, all right, no problem. Because I'm very, listen, I'm gonna get, I was gonna get militant on them because I tell you, I don't know who is who. When he come on to Guyana, trust me, I will. they harass me. But who was speaking? Is that Mr. Murray? Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Yeah. Yes. First of all, I'd like to say that it's interesting that Honorable MacDonald used the 3 P's. She was the 3 F's: family, friends, and favorites. In Barbados, it's amazing the parallels that we've seen tonight. In Barbados, I dubbed them the family, friends, and fornicators. Okay. Doing the same thing. Family, friends, and fornicators. But I want because the details I'm hearing as to what's going on in Guyana, I'm horrified. But I'm wondering, especially where the trade unions are being suppressed and ignored, etc. Where is the solidarity? I think there used to be a Caribbean Union of Teachers. Have you reached out to your brothers and sisters in CARICOM in the region to try to create some public support to put pressure on the Guyanese government? Have you tried to take it to the CARICOM level? Have you tried those tactics?
Well, yes, we have written to our president of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. They have sent letters to the government, to the Minister of Education, and to the president. We wrote ILO. ILO would have written to them. We informed Education International, that is the largest teachers trade union in the world. They too have written to the government. Because they are being supported by other prime ministers and so on, they get this spouse to do what they're doing. And of course, they come and they take our national awards and present it to them, and they send curry fish and all kind of thing to them. So they one big family in a pot, a pepper pot, and then you have the citizens who are the peas and the rice in the pot with the cook up. So you don't get the kind of satisfaction you seek to get. I sent you, Marcia, some conditions, the conditions of some schools, and I also sent you the conditions under which some of our citizens live in this country. And we boast here about being a rich country, the Dubai of the Caribbean, the 10th richest country. If you have a chance, I know that our time is running out, but if you get the chance to, maybe you can publish that so that some of your viewers would see the conditions under which some citizens live in this country.
Let me see if
And
Dave
Peter
can show some of
Harrington
those
not
pictures.
saying anything about it.
Yes, Mr. We're going to see if Dave can show some of those pictures. I don't know if Kimar is there. Yes, but go ahead. I'm not hearing Kimar. I didn't hear him. I don't know if he's still if he's connected. But Mr. Franklin, can you imagine that our Prime Minister, we don't hear, I mean, she's traveling the world and seemingly have a lot of connections. And you're going to tell me this is the same woman who wants to be, head of the UN and so on. And this kind of thing is happening in our backyard, a place that she travels to all the time. She's good friends with them and says that's her little brother and her big brother and the president and the vice president. And you're going to tell me we have not heard one word from the Prime Minister of Barbados to correct this situation or to bring it to international status, Mr. Franklin? You could believe that? You're muted.
Yeah, I can believe it because, some time ago we showed a house that was falling apart. That lady was the Prime Minister's maid. So she got injured and couldn't work anymore, and she lived in conditions that nobody would want to live under. So it isn't that these things don't bother her. She's more interested in what she can get out of the job of Prime Minister, what Barbados can do for her, not what she can do for Barbados, or what she can do for the region. So she will involve herself with whosoever will, and she's not going to condemn the bad behavior of Ali or the vice president simply because they can vote at the UN, and she wants to pick up there. So she's not going to offend anybody. She made one mistake and she offended Putin. I know she probably wrote him a writing back for forgiveness, but she would never tell us. So she doesn't, myself, you play my song all the time. She says she doesn't pretend to know about maths or English. She just pretends to care about people. That was her words for our two guys. She said that in Parliament. When she got angry about something and it popped out. But the truth comes out when you're angry. So I am not surprised with anything that she does.
Wow, you've seen this screen here? You've seen this screen here, Mr. Franklin?
Yeah, I am seeing it. I am seeing it. I have, like, for instance, today we had some people from my union on strike at sanitation. And they were reminding us that the Prime Minister was up there during the last administration telling people, no, you got to get better salaries and telling them to block the place. And she was outside in her vehicle. She went up there and supported the strike. Now they're crying out for the same things. Nobody's hearing the Prime Minister, She doesn't care about anything, just what can benefit her. You was talking about she has we wear her hair natural, no, it's just on camp. But that is the appeal to a certain group again, doesn't anything. So, but I wanted to mention the fact that Sister Coretta said there were all this debt that the next government will have to pay. We're racking up debt too. Just the other day, we just racked up one for $750 million. Some climate thing. Everything is climate, no climate thing, climate. But the money is racking up. How much money we owe IMF now? $750 million. And who's going to pay it back? My great grandchildren. Because we are not producing anything here. So what will happen? Barbados and Guyana are in lockstep. They are behaving because the same type of behavior. And it isn't racism when it comes to Mottley, it is classism.
Yeah.
These people down here are not her class. So she will go to that class where Jaidio and Ali and all them are because she looks down upon people who are poor. We have a sanitation man who got bathed in feces because somebody put him back in the truck because they didn't have a toilet. You think how many? You say don't fixing things like that when the truck compact the garbage. The guy was behind there, and he got soaked from head to toe. He told me yesterday, he said, thank God I didn't open my mouth.
Oh my God,
You know?
it's just awful, you know.
But we are going, so we got this extreme poverty in Barbados. Look, it's here. And look, it's in Guyana, look, it's in Barbados. I tell you, everything that you have, we have to.
And
You don't have anything on us.
but you know, Mr. Franklin, because we only have 1 minute left. This is supposed to be an oil-rich country,
Yeah.
and this is what is happening here. And I want people to look, and you can you might say, well, probably the prime minister might mean well about all different things, but when you think about different policies, you say, well, she probably tried and it didn't work, etc. But think about what
Nothing
is
has worked.
happening in Guyana. Think about what is it. Are you going to tell me she doesn't know or never heard these things? And you're going to go there and rub shoulders with the prime minister, with the president and the vice president, and you have nothing to say publicly about that. There's no reprimand. There's nothing. You have such clout internationally.
But,
And Jackson was there. The grandson of Mr. Jackson was there, and he used his platform to address certain things. Why can't you use yours? That's very, very serious to me.
We just had in Guyana a talk show host I saw him in handcuffs because somebody went on his show. And I swear there's somebody from PPP who called and made those comments. I wasn't there, but I believe firmly that they made those comments so that they can go and arrest him. You hear Barbados talk about human rights in Guyana, anything like this? Check it out. They're not going to speak up because this is what they're hoping to do here now too. That is why we have the cybercrime bill trying to say that if you are in your house and the police suspect that you are about to commit a crime on your computer, they can come and arrest you.
Yeah.
That is what we're having in Barbados. I don't know if you have that in Guyana too, but I hope you don't get it, but look out. That is what they're trying to impose on us now. You see, it is. I grieve for Guyana because, as I told you before, Sister Karada, that I have 2 Guyanese children. So when I hear, and they're Afro-Guyanese, so when I hear that things happen in Guyana, it has an effect on me too, because it has a personal effect on me because I have connections. Even my assistant is Guyanese at work. So you see, we are. For me, I don't want to predict, but I'm afraid not to say. You're going to have a brain drain because the young professional blacks will leave. And we're getting some here, we're getting some from Jamaica and Barbados. They will leave. And then when that happens, your country is going to be poor for it.
Yeah.
Oh, and by one thing, sorry, Marcia. And Sister Coretta, could you please send for me that decision from the judge in the case? I want to see it. I want to read it. Yeah, if you can send it to Marcia, I will get it.
Yes. Oh, definitely. So guys, we have come to the end of our program, but every time it comes on, I feel I need to visit Guyana. But I think I'm going to need a bodyguard because them Indian Guyanese, they don't let up on me at all. I tell you, I probably going to need a bodyguard if I come to Guyana. But I was saying to Dave, I feel like I want to come and see for myself because I'm that kind of person. And I feel like I want to visit Guyana, to be honest with you. But I got to plan that good and get security.
I am only going when the government changes.
No, but I want to see Honorable McDonald. I want to see what is happening there. But they are so vicious with me. I have double thoughts about it. But But let's we're going to close, and everybody will get a chance to make a final comment before we close. But we want to tell you about our protest march. This is March number 15. We're saying no to the cybercrime bill, which is now an act in Guyana. So they already have that. It's that way in Nigeria as well. And in a few other countries. Barbados, I believe, is more draconian than even Guyana's. But we also say no to gun violence. This week we had over in 7 days, 4 of our young men were gunned down. And we're saying we will not be silenced. We're not safe. And it's June 15th, and it's 10 a.m. And we are starting right there at REDMAN Drive, and that's at the traffic lights on Fontebelle Road. Come down, everybody, and let's be part of this. Stand up, let your voices be heard this Saturday, 10 a.m. Don't stay home, guys. You can't just be an observer. You've got to get involved. Get involved. Every Barbadian get involved. And I'm just going to ask our guests. Oh, we also have a cybercrime bill, a program that is geared towards Calypsonians, because you know that once they're doing the thing right, and they're going to talk about the administration or what is happening in the country, they might get caught by this cybercrime bill as well. So next Tuesday at 7 p.m. via Zoom, there is going to be a program that is a discussion with Lynette Eastman and Caswell Franklin and Sean Carter, who is the president of the Barbados Association of Calypsonians and Artists. They're going to have a discussion to look at how will the bill, if it is passed, affect the creatives, affect artists. And I think that this is so important that we log in, and you will be able, we're going to help with sending around the Zoom link so you can come in on the Zoom for that, okay? Thank you so much, Dave, for putting that on the screen. But can everybody take half a minute and give their final word? Mr. Murray, half a minute, sir.
Hi.
Unmute your mic, Mr. Murray, please.
Yes, I want to thank our Guyanese guests for the most enlightening and eye-opening account of some of what has happened in Guyana. I look forward to further information and further engagement with them. But on a lighter note, I'd like to say, we were talking about black belly sheep. So maybe rather, if they can't find them because they might be looking for black belly sheep, maybe given the way things are, they might have to look for indoor Guyanese black belly sheep.
I tell you, with the way things are going, that's funny. Kimar, I don't know if he's still there. And tomorrow there's alternate views is tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Square 4. You always remind me when I forget. Thank you, Square 4. That's tomorrow at 7. Kimar, is there anything that you want to say before we go half a minute?
Yeah, well, Mr. Murray would like to thank the Guyanese guests for coming on, Ms. McDonald and Mr. Jones. Keep the fight going in the Guyana resurfacing. Keep the fight going in Barbados. I don't know when your election is due, but I hope we get prepared in time to fight for the people. I'm sure Guyanese will be proud that you stood up for them at a later date. So thank you very much for coming on, and good night to everyone.
Yes, thank you, Kimar, and Mr. Well, we leave our general for last, so we call him the general. Let's hear from Honorable Christopher Jones, and then Honorable McDonald.
All right, thank you very much, Marcy. I must indicate that it has been a pleasure being introduced to you guys and having the opportunity to speak to our Barbadian brothers and sisters, and of course those Guyanese residing in Barbados. I sent you the information I spoke about in terms of the list of items my MPs would have submitted to the Parliament of Guyana well over a year, so you can share on your platform as well.
Yes.
As noted by many of the persons who commented, it does appear that Guyana and Barbados are twin, and it appears that our leaders essentially are sharing from the same book and being guided by same. It is a very unfortunate situation that we have as two countries, and more particularly, as I mentioned before, in Guyana, as relates to Guyana, because essentially we have been blessed with the resources. We have a population that is less than 1 million people, and the resources that we have are so plentiful that every single Guyanese, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your political persuasion, should be living the basic, comfortable life. And unfortunately, under successive People's Progressive Party civic government, it doesn't happen. We do hope that next year, if there's an election, or this year, that the Guyanese of all walks of life take the opportunity to correct the situation that we have. And we do hope that our friends in Barbados and Guyanese residing in Barbados and other Caribbean islands take the opportunity to encourage their Guyanese relative here to go out to vote for change, to bring about a comfortable life that every Guyanese deserve, and the resources are available for them.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christopher Jones. Thank you for being here. And our own Honorable Coretta McDonald. I say our own because she's part of us. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Marcia, I want to thank you and everyone else for having us on the program. It's always a delight to be here to share, because we are sisters. And so we need to share what is happening with our relatives here and what is happening with our relatives there. And the more we share our information, persons are going to become aware of what our leaders are doing. And you know what? I want to encourage my Bajan brothers and sisters, as well as my Guyanese brothers and sisters who are living in Barbados, that you must hold your leaders accountable. We cannot continue to be fearful and thinking about, oh, I'm going to be victimized here and victimized there, because what you fail to do now, your children and your grandchildren will suffer later on. We must be able to stand up and speak out when we have to speak out. Wrong can never be right. And so in Guyana here, Marcia, you could imagine what we face here in Guyana if you're facing it on your cell phone.
Yeah.
You can understand what we have to go through. In the parliament, we are disrespected. The females are disrespected in the parliament. The males are disrespected in the parliament. So you can understand what we have to go through here. But you know what? We have a mandate and we have a responsibility to the people who would have elected us, and we will stand out there regardless of how much they call me all kinds of names, Marcia. I will continue to speak, because you know what? I spoke when my party was in government. I stood out there and I spoke against wrongdoings that were happening. When the teachers' issues were not being dealt with, I spoke against it. And so with the PPP here, I will have to speak. I have no choice but to continue to speak, because I am a person who stands for rights and fairness. And we will continue to do our work here while you're continuing to do yours there. And we got to vote these people out. So let me remind my Guyanese brothers and sisters who are in Barbados, if you could come home, get registered, get your ID cards, come and do it so that you can come and vote. Because while they bring in Venezuelans to vote, you got to come and vote to ensure that your families here are given a better life. So good night to all of you. Take care, and may God continue to bless us all.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. I know that you had a very busy day, and you both took the time to be here with us to educate us on what is happening to our sister nation. And we're hoping. I know that I really want to come. I'm going to talk to you about that. I want to see for myself. I want to. I know Caswell is saying he's not going, but I want to go. But so over to the general. General, I know your heart is bursting hearing all of this tonight. What's your final word to us?
Let me say to you, when I was a little boy growing up, and that was many years ago, even though I look so youthful and good. Our people, our black Barbadians used to go to Demerara. That's what I used to do. We used to call it Guyana. We used to hear they're going to Demerara. So we have a lot of Bajans by descent in Guyana. As a matter of fact, I have actually helped process Barbadian citizenship for a few of them when I was in such a position to assist in that area. Some of them are my very good friends to this day because I helped them. You know, so when you attack the black Guyanese, you're attacking Bajans too. You know, as a matter of fact, a lot of you might not know, but Burnham was first generation Guyanese. His parents were from Beltline and St. Andrew, Barbados. Most of you might not know that, but Burnham was entitled to citizenship of Barbados because his parents were both Barbadian. Because that's what we're talking about. Because a lot of our people went down to Guyana, Demerara, to seek their fortunes and to get a better life. So we in Barbados have Guyanese relatives. I'm talking about blood relatives, not because we are black or because we're Africa. Right. I'm talking about blood people with the same DNA course and I'm talking about close DNA. I'm talking about first cousins and uncles and aunts that are still alive in Guyana because they went when they was a little boy, and some of them had children. So what we're having is we should be close. But unfortunately, politics and politicians in these countries try to divide, not to make us close. Because if they can eke out the living of the politics, and right now in Guyana, it isn't eking out anymore. It's their fellas are living high on the hog.
Yes.
If you can do that by ostracizing one group and making enemies of this group, because people here in Barbados, when people came from the islands, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Guyana, wherever, they're integrated into Barbadian society. And then you had politicians who try to make an issue out of it because politicians have to have somebody to demonize. Because if you can get enough people to speak up against you and they get the votes from them, they don't need yours.
Correct.
So what we have to do in the Caribbean is to tell the politicians we are one people. Like Guyana says they're one people, they don't mean it. They say it for the PR effect of it. Because and you know we have Charlie Jung here who is Mayor's PR man, and he does all these fancy things with the social media and stuff and make me look good. That's a big feat. But he's managed to do it. So unfortunately, we will see our people suffer, and there's nothing we can do about it. And people are then apathetic. They're not voting because they say, "What can we do?" But I suggest to them to go and vote. Last time it was very close in Guyana. Don't let it be so close this time, because it ain't only black Guyanese that are suffering. It is poor Indian Guyanese that are suffering too, because these people are not only racist, they're classist. So anyhow, Sister McDonald and Brother Jones, it's nice having you, and I would like to see more of you on this show. And you're always welcome. Trust me on that. I was very happy to see you, and we should be one, and I want us to remain that way. And you're welcome here. That's why I say I tell myself, keep my spot. I'll have another spot another time, because I'm here every day. You are not. Yeah. So that shows that you're appreciated in this place, and we will continue to do so. I was great having you, and it would be even greater to see you soon again. Good night.
Yes. Thank you so much, Caswell, and it's always an honor to have you on. I know you prepared, because our panelists, they research. Kimar would have done his research and didn't get a chance to do it tonight. but you know how it goes. I'm going to try my best to make sure that you have back the time. But
No,
we
about it.
had to give it to our Guyanese sisters, sister and brother tonight. We are one with you. And that's how we show our solidarity. We'll be praying for you. Those of you who pray, please continue to pray for Guyana. My heart hurts for them. And those of you you're here, remember you got to vote. You got to vote. They're very, very important. Bless you all. Love you and see you at the march. See you at the march. Alternative Views tomorrow at 7. We're again on Friday night, and we've got the march. So we're going to see you at the march, okay? Bye-bye. Love you all. Have a good night. And, you know, we can't go without our sound.
English. Pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Oh wow, always. And we laugh every night the same way. Good night, everybody. I don't think the other one is coming tonight. So
Good night.
Yeah, good night, folks. Have a good night. See you. Bye bye.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night.